System, is there a way to make some changes to this formation? Su Han thought about it carefully for a while, but he still couldn't find any solution. In desperation, he had no choice but to ask the system. With the host's current strength, the formation cannot be shaken. The system's voice came slowly. However, this was within Su Han's expectations, and he was more certain of his thoughts at this time. He once saw a formation in an ancient book. Once formed, it is extremely powerful, and it can stand for 1,000,000 years without falling. Even if someone wants to destroy it, they must have the strength far beyond the formation. However, the conditions for the formation of this formation are extremely harsh. Not only does it need a steady stream of spiritual support, but the most important thing is the physical sacrificial formation. And this array was probably set up by a certain powerful person in Yaoyan sect. It has to be said that the person who was able to set up this formation at the beginning really had a very far-reaching idea, sacrificing one person to complete a sect. A sect supported by a strong man will eventually decay. After all, the so-called strong man is always strong is not entirely true. No matter how strong a person is, there will be a day when he will fall. It's just a matter of time, maybe 10,000 years later, maybe 1,000,000 years later. And this array not only strengthens the cultivation speed of the disciples in the sect, but more importantly, it is a foundation. Perhaps when a sect is established, there may be a spiritual vein in its underground, large or small. But, let me ask, who can guarantee that the spiritual vein will remain unchanged after 10,000 years? But Yao Yanzong can do this. Perhaps this is good fortune tricking people. The cultivation formation that was proud of in the past, but now it is about to make the sect go to extinction. Su Han checked the situation and knew that there was nothing he could do for the time being, so he turned back. At worst, 3,000 pills were really refined. If there is only one day for 3,000 pills, it is indeed a bit tight, or maybe not at all. But what if this time becomes 1 year, or 10 years? Anyway, Su Han is not in a hurry. He has plenty of time now, and the lifespan obtained by investment alone is already a few years old. In addition, it takes nearly 100,000 years to reach the supreme realm. Coupled with the fact that Su Han is also constantly practicing now, it is not a big problem at all to live for hundreds of thousands of years. Moreover, this Yaoyan sect is considered a geomantic treasure for Su Han. Not only would there be many disciples who could invest, but the cultivation of the Great Formation would also promote the cultivation of Tai Wangju. In a short period of time, he didn't want to leave, nor would he. After returning to the martial arts field, the disciples are all working hard to practice. In fact, this so-called intersect grand competition doesn't sound very difficult, at least I think so. The real difficulty may be the quota to become a direct disciple. To become an intersect disciple according to the rules set by Yao Yanzong, one only needs to reach the Taishu realm. And in this big competition test, if the person who successfully won the leader, if the leader thinks that the talent is good, maybe he will accept him as a personal disciple. Even if you are not selected by the head, you will still have a chance to enter the top floor of the Sutra Pavilion. However, Su Han certainly knew how important this opportunity was to them. It would be fine if they were disciples from some family background. The cultivation resources at home were not bad, and they could also have some heaven-level exercises. But among them, there are quite a few disciples who are just ordinary people. Many of what they are practicing now are some mysterious exercises. Perhaps this exercise is really not bad for some people in the small domain. But this is the realm of falling sky. The talent of Xuanzhe Gongfa breaks through the sky, but it is too empty. But in Yao Yanzong, the realm of Taishu has just obtained the qualification to enter the inner sect. Mysterious skills are still too weak for them. At this time, Su Han looked at a female disciple in the corner next to him. During these many days in Yao Yanzong, Su Han seemed to be seeing this disciple for the first time. The sky eye is activated instantly, and the person's information can be seen at a glance. Name: Leang Yeshu. Age: 99 years old. Luck level: Fengyu Dharma phase. Cultivation: Peak of the Purple Mansion. Life evaluation: as one of the natal personalities of Fengyu Xianjun became enlightened 100,000 years ago, but was smashed in the Dark War, and lost his enlightened position. After the collapse, the natal personality was divided into 3, reincarnated in the world, dormant until now. Recent encounter: the entire village was massacred due to the rampage of power. My parents were not spared, so my heart demon invaded, my mind was unstable, my spiritual power was turbulent, and my storm personality was about to explode. Physique talent: Su Han was overjoyed, he hadn't seen such a talent for a long time. The reward brought by a Dharma aspect talent is enough to improve a small realm. After seeing his realm, Su Han was also a little surprised. You must know that the person in front of you is not practicing fire attribute skills, such a person is in an embarrassing situation in Yao Yanzong. If you are practicing in the martial arts field, the skills do not match it, so it is not so easy to practice, and maybe there will be a conflict of spiritual power, just like Di Yuanqing before. The practice is slow every day. If you don't practice in the martial arts field, you will not have the blessing of practicing the big formation, and there is no big difference compared with casual cultivation. But even so, the eye-catching person has not yet reached the age of 200 and has rushed to the peak of the Purple Mansion amidst all the suffering. This is the power of Fashong talent. However, when Su Han saw the biography evaluation, he couldn't help feeling a little sympathetic. Dharma talent may be something to be happy in the eyes of ordinary people, but if it really comes to a certain person, it may also bring some disasters. Because some of the abilities attached to the natural talent of the law cannot be well controlled without sufficient strength. After all, there are only a few people with luck buffs like Qing and Qingyu's magic talent. It is more because of the power brought by the gift of this dharma that destroys the original life. For example, Yun Qianying's face of great suffering and great compassion are like the person in front of him because of his own strength, both parents. Liang Yixu's complexion didn't look very good at this moment, but it didn't look like the sun was burning into her body either. Su Han's spiritual sense came out, and at this moment, Liang Yixu's spiritual energy seemed to fluctuate violently. Just from the outside, this person is no different from ordinary people. After a long time, Liang Yeshui seemed to wake up from a nightmare, with tears in the corners of her eyes. It was as if I had just experienced a nightmare. Su Han shook his head helplessly. Naturally, what the woman in front of him was thinking couldn't escape Su Han's eyes. I'm afraid it reminds me of the incident of destroying the village. Su Han walked over, handed over a handkerchief, and didn't say much. Liang Yeshui looked up at this person in amazement. Her eyelashes were wet with tears, and they fluttered up and down as she blinked. She naturally knew the person in front of her. After a little hesitation, she still took the handkerchief in Su Han's hand. If you're tired, it's okay to take a break, Su Han said lightly, but every word fell into Liang Yixu's heart. In her memory, it seemed that no one had given her a rest for a long time. There was just scolding and ridicule and somehow fear. Elder Su, you seem to be a little different from others. Wiping away the tears from the corners of her eyes, Liang Yeshui lowered her head and tried her best to suppress the trace of crying, and whispered. Everyone is naturally different. Isn't that what it means that there are no two identical leaves? Liang Yixu's eyes were obviously startled, and after a while, she realized that it seemed inappropriate to keep staring at an elder, so she quickly closed her eyes and came back. Su Han didn't care about the changes in the woman. Why didn't you ask me why this happened? After Liang Yeshui calmed down, she finally raised her head. At this time, Su Han also saw the appearance of this person. Perhaps it is not an exaggeration to describe it as a sinking fish and a wild goose. However, Su Han's eyes quickly moved away, and he smiled. If you want to say it, you will naturally say it. If you don't want to, why should I bother myself? Liang Yeshui was startled again, and finally laughed. Elder Su really did what everyone said, but when the woman said this, she stopped and sighed. It's just that I am an ominous person, and all the disciples hope that I will be defeated in the upcoming inner sect competition. Even though I'm an inner disciple now. In this way, the disaster will not be involved in the inner sect. The woman's eyes were full of sadness, but also revealed a sense of helplessness. Since it's painful, why do you want to come here to practice? Su Han also understood now that this is an inner disciple. It's just why the inner disciples are at the peak of the Purple Mansion. But although Su Han was a little puzzled, he didn't think about it. But the woman seemed to understand something and spoke slowly. My cultivation is indeed in the Purple Mansion, and I haven't touched it for a long time. The woman smiled wryly. This matter is actually no longer a secret. She is the relationship household, among the people who only has the cultivation base of the Purple Mansion but has gone through the back door and became an inner disciple. But only Liang Yeshui knows that this matter is not what they know, but what is the truth. Too much time has passed, and she has long since forgotten. I just remember that it was a night of heavy rain, and the strong wind kept sweeping across the village. Under the action of the strong wind, the icy cold rainwater hit my face with pain. She couldn't hear anything except the sound of the rainstorm. Later, when the sky cleared, an old man appeared in front of him, and the old man brought her to the present place. Brought to the inner sect called Yao Yanzong. As for the rest, she doesn't know either. It's just that every time I practice, I have that horrible dream. All the people were cursing at her, thinking she was a monster. After the class didn't know what happened, all the people appeared in front of him bloody. Among them are the parents who love her the most. Elder Su, if I say that I don't know why I'm here, would you believe me? For some reason, Liang Yeshui seemed to have a certain sense of trust in the person in front of her, and felt that everything could be understood. Su Han nodded and said nothing, but the woman said to herself after seeing it. Fifth Elder is a good person, but I may have to live up to his expectations. But, I'm not quite reconciled. In order to let others know that she is not a so-called relationship household, she works hard to practice every day, just to reach the realm of emptiness, and let others know that the Fifth Elder has not misled her. But now the intersect grand competition is about to come, but she is still in the purple mansion, without any breakthrough. Su Han took out a rope with a black lotus seed hanging on it, and handed it to the woman in front of him. This is for you. There is no need to rush for success, there is a destiny in the dark, maybe everything is dictated by fate. After Su Han finished speaking, he turned and left. Moxu lotus seeds can strengthen one's consciousness, and even if they are only carried on the body for a long time, they can also stabilize the mind. But Su Han also knew that this alone was not enough to complete the investment. But this is the first time we have met, if you tell her directly. You are a natural talent, and now your cultivation method is wrong, otherwise the cultivation speed can be improved a lot. Don't others think that this person is a lunatic? After investing so many times, Su Han also understood a path. Don't be too anxious, everything has to go through a process. Even if there is an investment system, it is impossible to become the strongest in a day. Liang Yeshui held the bracelet in her hand, and felt a gentle spiritual power emanating from it. Just holding it in her hand, she felt her heart calm down, and there was less noise around her. Liang Yeshui closed her eyes slowly, and Zhou Tian started to run, 1 week, 2 days. She just felt that the time passed very slowly, and there was an extremely gentle spiritual power around her. These spiritual powers seemed incompatible with the spiritual power of the martial arts training ground, but they did not interfere with each other. When Liang Yeshui opened her eyes again, she only felt that her body was very light. But there was no one around, and seeing the bright moon outside, Liang Yeshui realized that she had been here for a whole day. Feeling the breath on her body, Yi Shui suddenly stood up. Is this too empty? I broke through? After repeated checking 3 times, she was finally sure. Very good. Liang Yeshui shouted excitedly, and it took her a while before she calmed down. Looking at the bracelet on her hand, Liang Yeshui also knew that all this had a lot to do with Elder Su. The current Taishu realm cultivation base is also thanks to Elder Su. That night, she didn't go anywhere, she just meditated and practiced in the training ground, waiting quietly. Next morning, Elder Su Han got up early in the morning and came to the martial arts training ground. He thought no one was there, but he heard a very familiar voice. I broke through. Liang Yeshui trotted up to Su Han, and said happily. Su Han froze for a moment, and only after seeing Liang Yixu's face clearly did he dare to recognize someone. In fact, it's not Su Han's fault. The little girl who was still crying and sad the day before ran towards him with a smile on her face. She didn't have the momentum of yesterday at all. Such a big change, even if it is someone else, it is difficult to confirm it. After a long time, she realized that her behavior seemed to be not very good, so she quickly lowered her head. Breakthrough is a good thing. If you want to continue to practice, then go there. Su Han calmly pointed to a corner beside him. Without any hesitation, Liang Yeshui walked over there, but just after taking 2 steps, she turned her head to look at Su Han again. Thank you. Liang Yeshui said in a low voice, and then walked towards the place Su Han just pointed at. Su Han didn't pay too much attention to these, just moved his fingers slightly, and the position of Sang Yeshui was surrounded by a small circle invisible to the naked eye. Although it is said that he cannot change the cultivation formation, he can still change the attributes of spiritual power within a small range of the formation. Although it would consume more spiritual power, Su Han didn't worry about it. With the boundary god tree, Su Yan discovered that can be called a perpetual motion machine in the true sense. Spirit power exhausted. Impossible. What Su Han did was actually just to prevent that storm personality from making trouble. You must know that his personality is a powerful existence that slaughtered an entire village. Although these may not hurt Su Han in the slightest, this is the Yaoyan sect. If you run away here, let alone whether it will affect the disciples and affect future investment. Just after that, the disciples of Yao Yanzong's attitude towards Liang Yeshui will deteriorate. After entering the meditation, Liang Yeshui only felt a very gentle spiritual power suddenly appeared. This spiritual power seemed to restrain each other with something in her body, and the restlessness in her body was swept away. And for the first time, she also felt the spiritual power brought by practicing the big formation. In just a few breaths, she felt a steady stream of spiritual energy pouring into her body. Su Han didn't pay attention to Liang Yeshui next to him, He just looked for some disciples with good talents as usual, chatted with a disciple from time to time, and gave a pill. In the Hall of the Five Elders at this time, Qin Yiwang looked at the person in front of him in surprise and asked, "What you said is true." "It's absolutely true. The Pill Emperor Pagoda sent people to seek peace, and brought a lot of pills." The disciples who sent the letter also felt that this matter was not true, but they asked carefully several times, and the Pill Emperor Pagoda really meant this. "Where are they now?" Qin Yiwang asked hastily. One must know that Dan Wang Pagoda and Yaoyan sect are almost on an equal footing, although Yaoyan sect is currently ranked third among the 7 sects, and Dan Wang Pagoda is ranked fourth. That's also because the head of Yaoyan sect is stronger than the Tower Master of Pill Emperor Pagoda. But Yao Yanzong's cultivation depends on the exclusive secret medicine of Pill Emperor Pagoda, the 7th grade Qingshan pill. It can be said that if the Pill Emperor Pagoda refuses to provide Qingshan pill, the strength of Yao Yanzong will probably be greatly reduced. Judging from the recent style of doing things in Dan Wang Pagoda, they do have this trend. In addition, the news that Yao Yanzong has accepted a 6th grade pharmacist recently has spread. The big crowd didn't make any moves, that's because they were all waiting to see a joke. Ranking lower than Yao Yanzong and Pill Emperor Pagoda, they dare not stir up disputes casually. Those who rank higher than Yao Yanzong are not willing to eliminate the skill pool. Basically, it's the mentality of sitting on the mountain and watching the tiger fight. He had even made up his mind before, if Dan Wang Pagoda no longer provided Qingshan pill, he would fall out with Dan Wang Pagoda at worst. When the time comes, both fish and net will be destroyed. But now that the Pill Emperor Pagoda sent people to present generous gifts, could it be that it was because the production of Qingshan Dan was not enough? All kinds of doubts circled in Qin Yiwang's mind. They are already waiting at the door, and the leading envoy sent is Lin Shao. The disciple suddenly remembered and added a sentence. "Lin Shao." Qin Yiwang murmured, but he still invited them in. "Fifth Elder, are you safe?" Lin Shao walked in, and after seeing 5th Elder Qin Yiwang, he seemed to see an old acquaintance. At this moment, Lin Shao didn't have any intention of being timid, on the contrary, it was as if he had returned to his own home. To be precise, he did go out from Yao Yanzong. And this person was brought back by Qin Yiwang. And he, like Su Han, is a pharmacist, as the only pharmacist of the Yaoyan sect. Naturally it will get better and better. Qin Yiwang didn't have any temper either, and replied with a smile. "Let's get down to business. Some time ago, there were some problems with the alchemists in the Pill Emperor Pagoda, so the refining speed of Qingshan Dan was much slower. There is no way to supply Qingshan Dan normally, and I heard that some major events have happened to Gizong because of this matter. Here, too, I am deeply sorry." Although he said so, Tai Yiwang didn't feel the slightest apology from Lin Shao. But Qin Yiwang didn't say much. The 7 sects are originally a competition. If there is a problem with the cultivation of the 3rd Yaoyan sect, the most profitable one is of course the Pill Emperor Pagoda. On the bright side, everyone is one of the 7 great sects. If we want to unite, we probably hope that the mountain gate can be closed as soon as possible. These have long been tacit. The reason why Dan Wang Pagoda can always provide Yao Yanzong with Qingshan Dan is because of the high bid. It's expensive, but for the cultivation of the disciples, Yao Yanzong has no choice. "How much did you bring this time?" Qin Yiwang looked at the person in front of him. His heart was already burning with anger, and he said impatiently. "There are 3,000 Qingshan pills inside." When Lin Shao said 3,000, his tone rose a little. 3,000. Qin Yiwang was a little surprised when he heard the amount. There was a flash of joy in my heart, but it was fleeting. "How much do you want this time?" Qin Yiwang sat there in an old-fashioned way, his voice was lowered a bit, and the air was filled with the terrifying coercion of the immortal ascension boundary powerhouse. "The spiritual mountain you mined the most recently. In addition, our Pill Emperor Pagoda doesn't take advantage of you. There are 1,000 of the 6th grade blood-activating pills on the side here, which can be considered as gifts for you." Lin Shao waved his hand lightly, and the people behind came up carrying a box. "You are really a lion." Qin Yiwang gritted his teeth fiercely. "You must know that the Lingshan that Yao Yanzong mined recently is full of high-grade spirit stones. And just mined, no one knows how much is inside. But it is conservatively estimated that at least 30 million top-quality spirit stones can be mined. This price far exceeds any previous experience. And the elixir that he sent up behind. Although Hushui pill is a 6th grade elixir, it has only one function, promoting blood circulation and removing blood stasis to help gather qi. Anyone who has been in touch with the road of cultivating immortals will know that as long as the spiritual power circulates through the sky, it will be able to achieve this effect. The effect that can be achieved by running it for a few days easily, which a mortal cultivator would spend a lot of money to buy such a thing. It can be said that the Hu Shui pill has no effect on immortal cultivators, and it is even called elixir exclusively for mortals. Moreover, the minimum cultivation level of the disciples who joined the Yaoyan sect had to reach the Shenshen realm at the age of 100. A pill to help gather energy. For Yao Yanzong, it cannot be said that it is completely useless, it can only be said that it is a waste. The purpose of Dan Wang Pagoda's actions this time was almost written on his face. But at this moment, Qin Yiwang had no choice. Because there are very few elixirs left in the sect, and it is difficult to find even in the outer sect. Without this elixir, the cultivation speed of the disciples would be greatly disturbed. Even if the person in the Pill Emperor Pagoda is Ming Chang, he has no choice for the disciples of Yao Yanzong. Just take it with you when you go to find the son who bears the fairy bones in the future, and give it to some mortals. How is the quality of these pills? Qin Yiwang asked again after calming down. Once the elixir is sold, it cannot be returned, and you know this. Fifth Elder should check carefully, and don't say that our Pill Emperor Tower is bullying people. Lin Shao smiled and opened the two big boxes, revealing the pills inside the river one by one. Qin Yiwang didn't like what the person in front of him said. Yao Yanzong's cultivation method is special, so it needs Qingshan pill to regulate it. It is true that some disciples are eroded by the sun, and even if they eat Qingshan Dan after going crazy, it will not help. Therefore, no matter who is doing business with Yao Yanzong, they have always paid attention to a buy-in and a divorce. Qin Yiwang looked at it carefully, picked it up and smelled it, and found nothing unusual. A whole Lingshan. Really can't do less. His face was twitched, and there was still some flesh pain. A spiritual mountain. This is Yao Yanzong's annual expenses. Just change this medicine pill now. After thinking about it thousands of times, seeing that Lin Shao still disagreed, Qin Yiwang had no choice but to hand over a square object to the person in front of him. This square object is the magic weapon for locating Lingshan. The mining of Lingshan is extremely dangerous and complicated, so many sects will use formations to reinforce and hide their aura. As long as you have this thing, you can find the location of Lingshan. Since the deal is done, we will leave. Qin Yiwang looked at the back of him leaving, with mixed feelings in his heart. Yao Yanzong's disciples are safe for the time being, but a spiritual mountain is gone. Qin Yiwang soon came to the room where the head was. It's a bit of a loss to exchange 3,000 Qingshan pills for one spiritual mountain, but there is no other better way now. After all, it is not realistic for Su Han to refine all the pills needed by the entire sect by himself. Lin Yan let out a long sigh, but soon returned to his usual calm and breezy appearance. As long as the outside world knows that our Yaoyan sect can keep the alchemists, we won't be afraid that no one will come. At that time, Yao Yanzong will open a medicine refining hall alone, and one day Yao Yanzong will be able to return to that height. By the way, there are still no actions of those two recently? Lin Yi was also a little strange. Logically speaking, these two people should be about to fight. But why did it suddenly disappear when it was about to start? I still haven't found it, but Dan Wang Pagoda doesn't seem to be doing anything recently. Maybe they are all busy with Zongmen Yinbi after that? Qin Yiwang was also a little worried. Although the two were in the Broken Realm, they were infinitely approaching Shenyuan. Even if he was guarding by Su Han's side every day, there were always times when he couldn't take care of it. If you were taken advantage of, everything you have done before will be in vain. You keep staring. I'm not good at interfering in this matter. Lin Yan was a little helpless. If he, as the head of the sect, did it himself, it might not be a simple robbery. When it turns into a war between the sects, it will be the ordinary disciples and the people of Wangtian City who will suffer. And for some reason, Lin Yan seemed to have an inexplicable sense of trust in Su Han. Yes. At this moment, in the Pill Emperor Pagoda. Everything is done. An old man said to Lin Shao in front of him. Lingshan belongs to Dan Wang Pagoda, and Lin Shao didn't go on, but there was an intriguing smile on his face. In the next few days, Su Han practiced in the martial arts training ground, but he was not idle every day, and would invest in some disciples with good luck. The effect of the investment is very remarkable. The disciples who have received Su Han's investment are now practicing much faster, and basically have reached the Taishu realm. Elder Su, I broke through again. In the past, Liang Yeshui didn't like to come to the training ground to practice, because the atmosphere of the training ground was always so violent, which made her feel restless. But now, after getting to know Su Han, not only the bottleneck that has been stuck has been broken through, but even the speed of cultivation has been much faster. The most important thing is that no matter how much she cultivates now, the feeling of irritability in the past has disappeared without a trace. It is also because of this that she is now at the 5th level of Taishu. After Su Han sensed the aura on her body, he nodded in satisfaction. He is worthy of being a man of Fashang luck. In just a few days, he broke through 5 small realms. Although there is the nourishment of Su Han's gentle aura every day, the most important thing is her talent. But at this time, Su Han didn't have too many mood swings. Because Liang Yuxu's investment has not been successful yet. Although her current cultivation speed is not bad, within half a year's time, she will definitely be promoted to the realm of breaking the void. However, Su Han also knew that it was impossible for him to release his spiritual power all the time to help him cultivate. Doing this in a short time now is entirely to let her get rid of her inner demons. What are your plans after that? Seeing her happy look, Su Han asked slowly. Liang Yeshu hesitated for a while, but still didn't say why. Thinking about future goals is also a method of cultivation. Su Han's face remained calm, as if he had already expected the reaction of the person in front of him. I want to worship under Elder Su's sect. Liang Yeshu gritted her teeth, and finally said what was in her heart. This is also the question she has been thinking about day and night. If there is no Elder Su, how can she have everything she has now? Perhaps she will be eliminated in the intersect general election not long after. If you are lucky, you can still become an outer disciple. If you are not lucky, you may really want to wander around. Therefore, she always felt that she should do something for Elder Su. Now she is just a newcomer to Taishu, how can she help Elder Su? After thinking for a few days, she finally settled on her goal. To become a disciple under Elder Su's sect. However, Elder Su has always been the one standing on the top of the mountain in her heart. Will Elder Su really accept her as a disciple? Thinking of this, her heart began to shake again. Also because of this, when Liang Yeshu really said this, there was still a trace of blush on her face. Why do you have such an idea? Su Han was startled, but he didn't show it. I don't know what I can do for Elder Su, but maybe I can give Elder Su a pension. Hearing this reason, Su felt a little helpless. What kind of goal is bad? Why obsess over providing for others? This is tantamount to imprisoning oneself here, under the name of the so-called master. However, what Su Han didn't know was that with every investment he made, there were already countless people who wanted to become his disciples. They knew that Elder Su had a lot to do and was very busy, so he didn't have time to do these things. At the same time, an idea was firmly established in their hearts. As long as Elder Su says a word, no matter where he is, he will definitely carry out what Elder Su said to the end. I can't take you as an apprentice, Su Han said directly without any shyness. With your talent, you will definitely do something in the future, and it may be better to make a career on your own. In fact, it's not because he doesn't want to. Such a disciple with the talent of Dharma will definitely accomplish a lot in the future. If there is a very high achievement in the future, it will be a great honor to be her master. Su Han has long since disregarded these useless reputations. Everyone has their own destiny, forcible intervention may have a greater cause and effect. Moreover, I don't think he is a good master. Now Qing He, Qing Yu and Shi Yi don't know where they are. The two fell into a moment of silence. After a long time, Liang Yeshu unconsciously had a few crystal-clear teardrops hanging from the corners of her eyes, and said slowly. Thank you Elder Su for your guidance. Her voice was a little choked, but more determined. In order to help Elder Su in the future, I have to become more determined. Congratulations to the successful investment of the host. Do you want to receive the reward immediately? Wait a minute. Su Han heard the system's notification tone and said silently in his heart. In fact, Su Han could also tell that Liang Yuxu's state of mind had undergone a subtle change just now. However, Su Han didn't care about these, because these changes were beneficial to Liang Yeshu. As for the benefits, he didn't know, but that was enough. Night fell quickly, and Su Han returned to his room. After so many days of investment, Su Han's realm has reached the 3rd stage of human supremacy. It's just that after reaching this realm, even if you use the system investment rewards to practice, the speed will slow down a lot. When the realm is low, perhaps the reward brought by a blue luck is enough for him to raise a few small realms. But now, even the purple luck can only barely rise to a small level. The investment rewards brought by blue luck even require several to improve a small realm. Receive award. Congratulations to the host for completing the investment, and the rewards are as follows. 100 years of enlightenment, force of nature, wind affinity +5. Su Han found that among the recent investments, there are not many rewards, but they are all high-quality goods. Take this force of nature as an example. Wind is also one of the laws of nature. Mastering the power of wind is mastering a great way. If the affinity reaches, it may be a god in people's mouth. However, very few people can do this. Even if he has reached Su Han's current state, his understanding of the laws of nature still depends on systematic rewards. If it were ordinary people, they would not have the blessing of systematic rewards, and it would take 10,000 years to realize a trace of the power of the laws of nature. This is enough to show how important the laws of nature in the Tao are to a monk. Receive award. After a burst of enveloping spiritual energy, only a few breaths later, his breath reached a new height. Is this the human sovereign fifth realm? Su Han felt the changes in his body, only feeling a little subtle. Since reaching the human supreme, one can fully understand what other people think with just a slight thought, but the premise is that the strength is lower than his. Therefore, with the improvement of strength, Su Han became more and more aware of the problems of some disciples, and the use of Tianyan in the sky made investment much more convenient. Immediately afterwards, Su Han absorbed the power of nature into his body. Also within a few breaths, he felt a powerful and gentle force enter his body. But after this power entered the body, the gentle feeling just now seemed to have undergone a slight change. The spiritual energy that had just entered the body gently stirred up waves in the dantian at this moment. The spiritual power scattered all over the body is also rushing to the dantian at this moment because of this wave. And all of this, Su Han didn't have any control, it seemed that they were basically capable. A few breaths of time passed, and everything seemed to have calmed down. When Su Han entered the dantian world, a gentle wind was blowing, and he also discovered something strange. Although the original dantian world exudes vitality under the blessing of the bounding willow tree. But there has always been a downside. In the final analysis, this is just a dantian world, just bigger, and the delimiting willow tree has more spiritual power. After having a lot of spiritual materials, it also adds a bit of vitality. But in this dantian world, there is no restriction of the law of the Great Way. Therefore, the previous dantian had no mountains and rivers and no wind and clouds. And now, after absorbing the reward, the first ray of wind finally ushered in the dantian world. Maybe there is wind in the dantian world, and it doesn't have a big effect, but it is very important. With the wind, the most obvious point is that the environment has become better. Secondly, if in the future this dantian world is really reflected in reality and becomes a small world, this will help it continue to develop. And the appearance of the wind also brought this dantian world one step closer to an independent small world. Although it is very difficult to create a small world, but following this trend, maybe it is not impossible. Perhaps, this is the first ray of wind in the world that brings endless vitality. No. After Su Han took a brief look at the changes in the dantian world, he felt that the power in his body had also undergone a slight change. He just waved his hand lightly, and a strong wind swept over, and some spiritual materials were directly destroyed in the places he passed. This is the power of the wind. Although the wind usually looks soft, but if the intensity reaches a certain level, the water can capsize the boat, let alone the wind. Generally speaking, only those who have practiced wind attribute skills can use wind to attack. But Su Han didn't specialize in this kind of exercise, but he was able to do it. This is enough to show that the law of cause is strong. After absorbing all the rewards, Su Han felt the fluctuation of his own spiritual power. At this moment, he has crossed 2 small realms from the 3rd realm of human supremacy to the 5th realm of human supremacy. Worthy of being a strong man with the talent of Fashong, one is enough to be worth several. However, the talent of Dharma is really rare. Even in Tiankan domain, Su Han has only seen Liang Yeshui in front of him so far. However, after so many investments, Su Han also gave up. Perhaps those arrogances with yellow, blue or golden purple luck are just more talented and their gas level has increased accordingly. However, most of the people who are gifted with Dharma are not just formed in this life, but are created in several lives. Such a person was definitely extremely powerful in his previous life. At least it is above the supreme realm. The more he reached a powerful realm, the more Su Han felt that there was a sky beyond the sky, and there were people beyond people. Although the realm he feels now has reached the limit after reaching the supreme being. But Su Han felt that it was far more than that short-sighted, and perhaps there was still a scene after the supreme being. It's just that it's useless to think about all this now. Only after reaching the supreme heaven, everything will be conclusive. There is still a long way to go in the future, and it is definitely not the kind that can see the end at a glance. Su Han let out a long breath, and the speed of Tai Wang in his body also accelerated a little. During the recent time in the martial arts training ground, the Tai Wang Ju has been continuously operating, constantly improving and breaking through. After such a long time, Su Han also felt a little deeper in comprehension. But even so, he still felt that the mystery of Tai Huang Ju was far more than that, and his current understanding of him was only superficial. Even the system can't evaluate the quality of this skill, but Su Han knows that Tai Wang is definitely a skill that surpasses any skill on him now. In the early morning of the next day, Su Han came to the training ground as usual and watched the disciples' cultivation. In just a few breaths, Su Han looked around and immediately found a clue. "Hello, Elder Su." A middle-aged man in a red and black robe walked towards Su Han. Su Han has been in this martial arts training ground for some time, but he has never seen the person in front of him. From his clothes, it is not difficult to see that the person in front of him is a deacon. "You are?" Su Han was a little curious, and asked casually. "My name is Luo Cheng, and I'm the newly appointed deacon. If Elder Su has anything to do in the future, you can just tell me directly. In the future, Elder Su will need to take care of him." After staying here for a long time, Su Han also figured out that there are not many positions held by Yan Chong here. Because the position of a deacon is very embarrassing, generally speaking, as long as you have the ability to break the emptiness, you can be a deacon. This threshold is actually not high, and there are quite a few people in Yao Yanzong who have reached the cultivation level of Shattering Void. Su Han also felt that it would be a good choice to let someone with a broken emptiness be the deacon. For the disciples of the outer sect, breaking the void is a relatively high strength, and it can also give them some guidance in terms of cultivation. But the embarrassing thing is, as long as the strength reaches Taishu, you can enter the inner sect and become a Zimun disciple. In contrast, there are naturally more disciples who are willing to become disciples of the inner sect than the deacons of the outer sect. However, Su Han didn't care about these things. The intention of a deacon from Yaoyan sect to come here has already been very obvious. It was nothing more than that he had promised to help Yao Yanzong in alchemy before, and the people above were afraid that they would be too busy with things every day, so sending someone over could reduce the workload and give them more time for alchemy. But even so, Su Han would be happy. Not only is there an extra helper, but you can also order them to do some things later. Su Han's sky eyes opened instantly, and the information of the person in front of him appeared in front of him. Name: Luo Cheng, luck level: golden, with a hint of black. Strength: breaking the void first level, age: 381 years old. Life evaluation: born in the Yaoyan sect, 100-year-old Po Taishu traveled abroad for thousands of years, and then started to practice again. The talent is extremely high, and he broke through again in a century. Recent encounters: sun flame erosion, bewitched. When Su Han saw the information panel, he was slightly taken aback. Let him never think of 1,000 years of time for a girl, just to travel. This state of mind is probably unique. Although during these 1,000 years, his cultivation has not improved at all, but there is no doubt that after the baptism of thousands of years of human habitation, his state of mind will be very different from ordinary people. In the eyes of others, this may just be a waste of thousands of years, but Su Han knows the weight of it. Even if he does not practice at all in 1,000 years, the growth of his mental state is enough for him to practice quickly after 1,000 years. This sub-cultivation foundation is very solid. With golden luck, an excellent state of mind and an extremely solid foundation, is this speed of cultivation inappropriate? Perhaps this is his own cultivation method. As for the erosion of the sun, Su Han has seen many things, and in fact, it is not an intractable disease in essence. Even just a 7th-rank Qingshan pill is enough to alleviate it. But, just because this deacon who just took office is about to fall, could it be that Yao Yanzong is short of pills to this point? But he didn't think too much about it, he just raised his mouth casually. Don't be in a hurry to practice recently. Thank you, Elder Su. Luo Cheng seemed to be very useful for this sentence, and a smile appeared on his face after hearing it. However, only he knows. Luo Cheng used to be regarded as the most promising generation among the inner disciples of Yaoyan sect. As for why he is willing to come here to be a little deacon, all of this is the news he got from the 5th elder. After a few days, all inner disciples will distribute Qingshan pills. And these days of inner sect cultivation, although the cultivation is rapid, the toxins eroded by the sun have already accumulated in the body. Although the speed of inner sect cultivation is very fast, in recent days, he feels more and more powerless to practice. The sun erosion in the body also faintly has a tendency to explode. And the methods used by inner disciples to alleviate the erosion of the sun are generally to prevent problems before they happen. Although this method has some impact on the speed of cultivation, it will not completely bind fate to a small pill. Most of the disciples in the inner sect use this method. But the toxin in Luo Cheng's body is about to erupt, and it won't take 10 or 100 years to get rid of it. Perhaps in the past, these 10 or 100 years would be passed by just traveling anywhere. It's just that now he has a goal that he has to work hard to cultivate. So even if he gave up his identity as an inner disciple and came to the outer sect, he would still be willing. What's more, He also heard that there is a newly promoted Elder Su who is extremely powerful and even a pharmacist. Many disciples have been helped by Elder Su. Even if they are about to become snake monsters, Elder Su has a cure. Luo Cheng was also worried that one day he would become a snake demon, so he wanted to come here to try his luck. However, after hearing what Elder Su said, Luo Cheng completely believed those rumors. Maybe Elder Su is the one who can save him. All that needs to be said has been said. This is Luo Cheng's first day as a deacon, and Su Han didn't look for him again. Liang Yeshui was still practicing in the martial arts training ground of the outer sect, but this time, Yin Han did not continue to create an environment suitable for her to practice. This time, Liang Yuxu's cultivation speed was significantly slower, but for some reason, perhaps it was because she had a goal in her heart. During the whole day of cultivation, it was quite smooth, and there was no irritability like before. After Su Han saw this scene, he was also quite relieved. At least Liang Yuxu's state of mind has been greatly improved, and her spiritual adaptability has also improved a lot. Liang Yeshui is the reincarnation of immortal Feng Yu, so she naturally cultivates Wind-type Kung Fu. As for the Wind-type Kung Fu, when it meets the Yaoyanzong's practice formation, in fact, there is no such thing as a mutual restraint of attributes. Fire can help wind, and wind can also extinguish fire, and the two complement each other. Perhaps from another perspective, the same is true of wind and any attribute. As long as Liang Yeshui finds a method suitable for her own cultivation, it doesn't matter where she is or what the aura attribute of this place is. As long as the aura is abundant enough, she will be able to practice quickly in the future. All of this will take time to adjust. During this day, Su Han still only invested in a disciple of Blue Luck. This was the case for the next few days. There are quite a lot of disciples in this martial arts training ground, and the time required for each investment is indeed quite a lot. However, after this period of time, I gradually adapted to the life of clocking in at work on time every day. On this day, Su Han came to the martial arts training ground as usual, but before entering the door, he heard the disciples inside discussing it. It seems that the sect has worked hard for this inter-sect competition. That's not it. The Qingshan pills that have not been released for a long time have been stopped, and now each person has 2 pills. This clearly wants us to cultivate quickly and strive to enter the inner sect. A voice was unusually passionate, and one could tell from the tone that this person was very happy. I heard that there are no inner disciples for the Qingshan pill this time? At this time, a disciple said with some doubts. Most of the inner sect disciples are stronger than Taishu, even if they don't practice. Those of us who have just entered Taishu may not be their opponents. The other disciples didn't think this matter was very strange, they just said some self-deprecating words. When Su Han heard this outside, he actually understood the reason. Although the current Yaoyan sect ranks 3rd among the 7 great sects, slightly higher than the Pill Emperor Pagoda, but it has encountered problems in cultivation. It would be a good thing if there were pills to relieve them, but the current situation of the 2 sects is not optimistic. If you rely too much on Qingshan pill's auxiliary relief, I am afraid that as long as the Pill Emperor Pagoda completely blocks this pill, Yaoyanzong's status will plummet in a short time. It is even possible to be squeezed out of the top 7. However, this is not the most important thing. The most important thing is that if the elixir is completely blocked, the erosion of the sun's flames in the disciples of Yao Yanzong will still exist. If the erosion of the sun's flames is completely released this day, I am afraid that Yao Yanzong will become a demon production place in a short time. At that time, let alone the 7 great sects, I am afraid that the world will cast aside it. Thinking of this, Su Han also admired the courage of the leader of Yaoyan sect. After all, this cultivation formation was left by the powerful ancients, and it is something that others dream of. But he is willing to give up these things to protect his disciples. However, Su Han does not intend to interfere with these things. Everything in the world is dictated by fate. If the Yaoyan clan's life should not be terminated, they will naturally be able to survive this catastrophe safely. But if it should have ended here, even if Su Han took the initiative to resolve this catastrophe, Beyond would usher in the next catastrophe. Su Han walked in slowly and glanced at the disciples. Because of the elixir in their hands, most of them had smiles on their faces. Perhaps it was because of the elixir in his hand, he gained confidence, and with a glance, many disciples' auras became a bit calmer. Su Han still patrolled around, locked his eyes on the disciple who was going to invest today, and sat down around him. At this moment, in the main hall, "Master, is this really appropriate?" Many inner disciples have complained. These voices are too loud. Maybe something will go wrong in the future. Qin Yiwang looked at Lin Yan with some hesitation, and seeing that the face of the sect leader was still calm, without any change in expression, he was also a little anxious. As the only elder in Yaoyan sect, if the disciples had anything to do, he would naturally be the first to find him. Since all the pills were distributed to the outer disciples, many inner disciples came to ask for explanations. The content is basically the same. It is nothing more than saying that it is unfair to do so, or that this elixir is needed very much. Qin Yiwang has nothing to do, after all, this is the decision of the head. All the elixirs were distributed to the outer disciples, and now there are only a few in his hands. So for the complaints of these inner disciples, Qin Yiwang only advised them not to rely too much on the assistance of pills. But it's just such a statement. You can hide from the first day of the junior high school, but you can't hide from the 15th grade. If you can hide from the first day of the junior high school but not the 15th day, these inner disciples will definitely come to discuss the explanation in a short time. Then, how should we talk to them? I have my own considerations about this matter. If there are still disciples who come to ask for an explanation, you can let them come to me, Lin Yi said indifferently. These 3,000 elixirs may be the last elixir that Pill Emperor Pagoda can give us. If it is distributed to everyone, it will take time until the supply of pills is completely gone. Yao Yanzong may not be here anymore. Having said that, Lin Yan sighed, and for the first time there was a hint of emotion on his face. At his age, Lin Yan thought that nothing could make him worry. But the Yaoyan sect is the only exception. Just thinking back then. Thinking of this, Lin Yi sighed again, and soon his expression returned to the original one. On this day, when Su Han had just selected today's investment target and was planning to invest, there was a sudden commotion nearby. Oh no! Several disciples formed a circle, and Luo Cheng was inside. Deacon Luo has been eroded by the sun. Soon, some disciples knew what was going on, and soon found a pill box on his body. When I opened the box, I saw that there was only one pill lying quietly in the place where 2 pills could have been placed. However, the disciples didn't care so much anymore, and directly took out the pill. Don't panic, there will be nothing wrong with Qingshan pill. The disciple who spoke fed the pill into Luo Cheng's mouth. After waiting to take it, everyone looked at the person lying on the ground expectantly. 2 breaths. After more than 10 breaths, Luo Cheng did not lose all the scales on his body as they imagined. On the contrary, there were more scales on his body. Oops, it seems that the poisoning is too deep. Seeing this, the disciple who just fed the medicine also took out a small box from his dantian space. Although he was a bit reluctant, he still firmly took out one of the 2 pills inside and fed it into Luo Cheng's mouth again. But even so, after another short while, Luo Cheng's condition still didn't get any better. On the contrary, it seemed to get worse. How did the disciples see the situation? Even the Qingshan pill is useless. Then what else can I do? It seems that only. Several disciples glanced at each other, and they were a little reluctant. After a few breaths, they seemed to have finally made up their minds. Hurry up. If you don't do it, it will be too late. Why don't they remember what it was like the last time something like this happened? When the erosion of the sun is completely broken out, it will become a snake demon without any humanity. At that time, let alone saving people, even the disciples in this martial arts training ground will be in danger. It is also because of this that they had only one plan just now, beheading in advance. Only in this way can the loss be minimized. Seeing this scene, Su Han also understood why when he saw Luo Cheng before, his luck was a little black. Etc. Su Han's voice came slowly, and everyone looked at Su Han involuntarily. Su Han squatted down and briefly checked the situation of the person in front of him. In fact, Luo Cheng in front of him has not been eroded by the sun too much, and even Feng Zizong's erosion by the sun was deeper than this. Logically speaking, to such a degree, a Qingshan pill is enough to alleviate it. But why didn't it have any effect after he took 2 Qingshan pills just now? Before he had time to wonder, Su Han put a black lotus seed into his mouth. After a few breaths, the scales on Luo Cheng's face finally faded away, revealing his original lightness. Back to normal. Seeing this scene, everyone couldn't help being a little bit happier. Because they know that as long as they are cultivating in this martial arts field now, there may be such a day in the future. And the decision they made just now is also everyone's decision. These disciples who often practice here have already made a common decision. As long as there is anyone whose sun has eroded to an uncontrollable point, no matter who it is, in order not to interfere with other people, they will be killed. However, when they saw Su Han now, their hearts were shaken a little. I don't know when it started, they all trust Elder Su in front of them. After Luo Cheng came to his senses, Su Han asked the other disciples to practice. After reviewing all these things in his mind, Su Han came to Luo Cheng's side. Did you just take a Qingshan Dan immediately after feeling the erosion of the sun? Su Han also saw Luo Cheng's empty box containing the pill just now. Logically speaking, the elixir has just been distributed, so it is impossible to use it up so quickly. So, there is only one truth, Elder Su. Luo Cheng hesitated, but after bowing his head for a while, he nodded. Indeed, as Elder Su said, I ate a Qingshan pill right away. Only. Although Luo Cheng has no memory of what happened afterwards, he has also seen such a thing, and knows that just now his mind was eroded by the sun, and he almost became a snake demon. It is precisely because of this that the Elder Su in front of him is his savior, so he is willing to tell all this. After all, there is only one possibility in his current situation. In his cognition, his sun erosion toxin is already very serious. Maybe I won't be able to continue practicing in the future. It's just that he is not reconciled, he still has things to do, he must not stop here. I thought that Elder Su was going to persuade him not to continue practicing, but at this moment Su Han was thinking for a moment. Su Han didn't really care about his matter. After all, after having a Moxu lotus seed, within a short period of time, the sun erosion within Luo Cheng would definitely not recur. Including the one Qingshan pill that he started to eat, Luo Cheng just ate a total of one Qingshan pill. Why after eating the 3 Qingshan pills, there is still no relief? Su Han came to the side of the disciple who just took out his elixir for Luo Cheng. How about I exchange this with you for a Qingshan Dan? Seeing the Moxu lotus seeds that Su Han held in his hand, although he didn't know what it was, he was present when Elder Su relieved the poison of the sun's erosion twice. Also because of this, although he couldn't tell what it was definitely an extremely powerful thing, at least it was more precious and more effective than Qingshan pill. Without any hesitation, the disciple directly took out the small box that had just been put into the Dantian space and handed it to Su Han. While passing the thing over, he also carefully took the black lotus seed, packed it in another small box, and then gently put it back into the Dantian space. This is enough to show how important Qingshan Dan is in the hearts of the disciples. Thank you, Elder Su. After accepting the lotus seeds from Moxu, he hurriedly thanked them. Su Han didn't pay attention to these, just opened the box, took out the elixir by himself, and observed carefully. But soon, he discovered something was wrong. Although it seems that there is nothing wrong with this elixir, even if you inspect it carefully with your spiritual consciousness, you can't see any clues. If it were someone else, even if he was a pharmacist, it would be almost impossible to find out. But in Su Han's eyes, there is nothing to hide. In just a moment, the information of this elixir appeared before Su Han's eyes. 7th grade Qingshan pill, damaged, has very little medicinal effect, and the medicinal effect will be damaged after adding firebeard grass, which will easily cause fire-type toxins. Seeing this introduction, Su Han froze for a moment. Seeing these, all doubts have been answered. Su Han also understood why Luo Cheng had eaten 3 Qingshan pills before, but it didn't have any effect, but it made it worse. There is a problem with this pill itself. Su Han asked about some pills from other disciples, and all the pill information was exactly the same. It may be a coincidence that one person's elixir is like this, but many people's elixir is like this, so the effect of this elixir itself may not be to suppress fire poison. If such a poison elixir is eaten when the sun's erosion is about to occur, it will probably only occur faster. And apart from him, Yaoyan sect has no other alchemist, so naturally there is no other suppressing elixir. If these 3,000 pills are completely used up, I am afraid that none of the outer disciples will be spared. And all of this is the result of the correct decision made by Yanzong's head. If all the pills are distributed regardless of the inner and outer sects, it may take less than a year. Yao Yanzong said that there are only a handful of remaining disciples. Even those arrogances who are now the focus of attention are also hard to escape. Those who make such pills have ulterior motives. These people absolutely want to put Yao Yanzong to death. However, Su Han didn't intend to intervene too much in this matter. After all, only the disciples of the outer sect issued the Qingshan pill, so as long as the outer sect's martial arts training ground was unhindered, other problems would naturally be fine. Su Han put away all these pills and stood up slowly. If you feel any discomfort while practicing, leave the training ground immediately. Don't think that you will be fine with Qingshan pill. Although Su Han's voice was not loud, the spiritual power contained in it was extremely majestic, and everyone looked to this side. For some reason, as soon as Elder Su spoke, all the disciples involuntarily stopped their cultivation. Everyone trusted what Elder Su said, even if they didn't know why, they remembered it in their hearts. After cultivating for a short while, the expressions of several disciples changed slightly, and they didn't struggle anymore, they just walked outside. At this time, Luo Cheng also recovered and walked to Elder Su's side. Thank you, Elder Su. Luo Cheng saluted and said gratefully. The food I just gave you is enough to keep you from being eroded by the sun for half a month, so you can practice with peace of mind. Su Han didn't know why Luo Cheng suddenly had such a deep obsession with cultivation. Luo Cheng was taken aback for a moment, and after a while, another big gift came. Thank you, Elder Su. I thought he had taken Qingshan Dan before, but the effect was only 10 days at most. And the thing Elder Su took out can guarantee half a month without interference? At this moment, he could no longer describe his mood in words. It's just that there is an extra thought in his mind. Elder Su is like his reborn parents. If there is a chance in the future, he must thank you. The 5 elders hall at this moment. What? Hearing the news from the training ground, Qin Yiwang couldn't hold back anymore. It is reasonable to say that such a thing happened before when there was no Qingshan Dan. But now no one has given out 2 Qingshan pills, and this kind of thing still happened? This is a pill that cost a whole spiritual mountain. Qin Yiwang didn't have time to think too much, and trotted directly to the main hall. After informing the head of all the news, Qin Yiwang waited anxiously by the side. At this point I know. Lin Yi let out a long sigh and said slowly. He had long been worried that such a thing would happen, but he never expected that it would happen so quickly. But it also confirms something more, but this is obviously because their pill Emperor Tower is deceiving people too much. The elixir exchanged for this spiritual mountain has no effect? This has never happened before. As Qin Yiwang spoke, he became even more anxious. The previous Qingshan Dan, as long as it has not completely turned into a snake demon, can be suppressed. Seeing that the suzerain still didn't make a statement, Qin Yiwang became even more anxious, and directly brought out some previous things. Lin Yi shook his head helplessly, and spoke slowly. What is the 5th elder going to do? Lin Yi's voice was not loud, but it made Qin Yiwang shut up at this moment. Although he is complaining here now, he really hasn't found a solution. Because, although he knew that there might be problems with the pill, he couldn't see it. Recalling those things that happened back then, and Lin Xiao's proud face that day, Qin Yiwang felt more and more tricked. But because there is no evidence, then, let's leave this matter alone. Qin Yiwang was still a little unwilling, and shouted again. Su Han solved the matter this time. Lin Yi didn't pay attention to what Qin Yiwang said, but asked slowly. Yes. It's impossible for Elder Su to be present in time every time, right? Although Elder Su is a pharmacist, it is impossible to refine so many pills at once. This was originally the reason for spending such a large price in exchange for these 3,000 pills. But now the head still wants to put all his hopes on Su Han? A pharmacist supporting a sect, or a sect that often needs pills. Isn't this just dreaming? This is the rhythm to squeeze Elder Su dry. After thinking for a while, Qin Yiwang looked at the master hesitantly and said. It's not good. Lin Yan's expression didn't change when he heard this, he just said lightly. It's nothing wrong, just call him over. Qin Yiwang's complexion changed slightly, but he soon regained his composure, and his expression became so thought-provoking. Soon, Qin Yiwang personally invited Rang to the gate hall. What is the master looking for from me? On the way here, Qin Yiwang was in a daze, and he didn't mention anything about what he was doing here, as if he was hiding something. Qin Yiwang didn't care too much about this matter, he turned around and left after bringing the person. Those things happened, I believe you have guessed some of them. Lin Yi sighed slightly. The matter of Qingshan Dan is indeed strange. But it can't be true, it can't be fake, it can't be true, everything needs to be decided by you. Su Han was not polite, and said something directly. To be able to become the head of a great sect, Su Han would not believe that he had no thought at all. I'm afraid he had already thought about everything before calling Su Han. As for what to do, Su Han believed that with his strength, if he just wanted to seek justice, it would be an easy task. Now he probably doesn't want to do that. You are quite sober, but how can the transaction between sects be so simple? A smile finally appeared on Lin Yan's face. Su Han just shook his head and didn't say any more. After a while, Lin Yi asked again. Do you know what's wrong with these pills? Faced with this matter, Lin Yi was also quite helpless. It was certain that there was something wrong with the pill, but he couldn't find it, and he didn't have a calendar. Lin Yi had no choice but to put his last ray of hope on Su Han, the only alchemist of Yao Yanzong. If even the pharmacists can't see the clues, how can we talk about finding justice? The elixir is indeed the 7th grade Qingshan elixir, and the spiritual energy is also very pure, but I am afraid that someone sent some spiritual materials in it. Su Han didn't directly explain it, but said something slowly. Is there a way to test it? A gleam of joy flashed in Lin Yi's eyes, and he asked immediately. If there are worries about the future, the head may lose the style of the past. Although Su Han didn't know much about the person in front of him, he probably knew his character based on the systematic biographical evaluation. Lin Yi was obviously taken aback, and after a few breaths, he just laughed. It seems that Su Xiaoyu still has some understanding of the old man. Thank you Su Xiaoyu for your reminder. Lin Yi got the answer he wanted and let Su Han leave. Looking at the back of Su Han turning away, Lin Yi was also quite touched. Indeed, as Su Han said, if you shrink back when doing something, how far can you do it? This seems to be completely deviated from what he thought when he became the head of the Yaoyan sect. At this moment, Lin Yan was like enlightened, and his mood also had a slight change. At night, above a certain huge tower building, a figure enveloped everything. What's the matter? Is it a little too dark today, and there are no stars at all? The two disciples on patrol felt a little strange and discussed in a low voice. Never mind him, the patrol will be over soon anyway. My master recently refined 10 transformation pills, and gave me 2. Let's go find a spirit beast together later? Hearing this, the name next to him rubbed his hands excitedly. This time I have to find something better. Boom, a ray of light suddenly flashed in the sky, and a thunderbolt struck between the two of them. One disciple was more agile and escaped by luck, while the other one was not so lucky. After being hit by lightning, it turned into a piece of coke on the spot. The disciple looked around and found no one else, so he hurriedly fled the scene. After a while, everything returned to calm, and the night looked extraordinarily beautiful against the backdrop of a bright moon. And nothing seemed to happen just now, except for those cokes. In the early morning of the next day, in Dan Wang Pagoda. Have you heard? Last night, a disciple was walking on the road and was directly smashed into coke by a thunder. That's too bad luck, isn't it? Could it be that he made some poisonous oath? That's why he was struck by lightning? Or did you do something wrong? The news spread quickly, and the disciples of the Pill Emperor Pagoda had different opinions. Some thought it was an oath, and some thought that this person had committed evil deeds. But for these people, this is just a trivial matter. Even if a disciple has an accident, it is just reduced to some talk after dinner. Half a day passed, and there was no trace of this incident, and even the people who discussed it felt unlucky. That night, the sky fell silent again. The sky at this time has only one color, black, deathly black. The disciples of Pill Emperor Pagoda felt a little strange looking at such a dark night, and there seemed to be something suppressed in their hearts. Boom, another thunder fell, and the cultivator who escaped the catastrophe yesterday did not have such good luck this time, and was reduced to a coke. Another person was struck by lightning last night. And it's the deacon we often see. The most important thing is that when the disciples went to clean his room, they found a. The man stopped here. Although he didn't continue talking, they already knew what they found. It is no secret that transformation pill is in Pill Emperor Pagoda. It is even something that many disciples dream of. As for its function, there is only one, to transform the spirit beast into a human form, and within a day, it will satisfy any needs of the person who fed the pill. After one day, the spirit beast will return to its original state. It is also because of the effect at this moment that the price of transformation pill is extremely high, even hard to find. Sometimes even if you take out hundreds of top-quality spirit stones, you can't buy a single one. The refining method of this elixir is very complicated, and ordinary disciples like them have only heard of it a few years ago. It is said that a few years ago, in the Dan Wang Pagoda, a pharmacist suddenly came, and he brought the transformation pill. Since then, there has been an endless stream of disciples who went to apprentice. With the increase of disciples, there is another thing that is also a big seller, spirit beasts. The more you cherish the better-looking spirit beast, the higher its price. What exactly it is used for, no one knows. You mean to say? After the disciple heard the news, he was stunned for a moment, not because of anything else, but because, and. In the past, he also spent a lot of money to buy one. Hush. No one knows what's going on now, so don't talk nonsense. Day 3, Day 4. The nights were dark for several days until there was a boom of thunder and everything returned to normal. After so many days, the higher-ups of Dan Wang Pagoda can't sit still. I'm afraid this time it's not a natural disaster, but a man-made disaster. An old man's face was covered with black lines, and he said very seriously. This person's name is Huang Wuxi, a 5th-grade pharmacist, and an elder in the Pill Emperor Pagoda. Although the elders of the Pill Emperor Pagoda are generally pharmacists of the 6th rank or above. But he is an exception. He holds the formula of the 7th-grade elixir, transforming shape pill, in his hand. Although he is still a 5th-rank pharmacist, he has received the support of most of the disciples and was directly embraced as an elder. And this time, among the disciples who were struck by the lightning and turned into coke, 4 of the 5 were his disciples. So he was very angry about this matter, man-made disaster? Then tell me, who did it? I see, it's because the elixirs you refined were too evil, which attracted Tinley. It's really karma. God has eyes. An old man next to him had a completely different expression from Huang Wuxi, with a smile on his face. This person's name is Sima Yao, and Huang Wuxi, who just spoke, is a well-known rival in the Dan Wang Pagoda. You. Huang Wuxi pointed at Sima Yao and wanted to say something, but finally swallowed the words back. As long as you were upright, how can you be afraid of thunder? Seeing that Huang Wuxi was deflated, Sima Yao smiled again. Okay. The two were arguing, and the one sitting in the middle looked down a little. Seeing that the suzerain had spoken, the two had no choice but to stop. This matter is not as simple as it appears on the surface. I am afraid that someone is manipulating it behind the scenes. Maybe it has something to do with that. When the old man said this, they naturally knew what they were talking about. How can it be? It's impossible for anyone to see this thing. Didn't it already be verified when it was sent over? Hearing this news, Huang Wuxi suddenly showed a trace of panic on his face. Because the initiator of this matter is really Huang Wuxi. And this time, all the people recruited by the lightning strike were his disciples. If the two things are really connected, then he, as the instigator, may. I have already said that such a thing cannot be done. Thousands of years ago, our two sects still had a deep friendship. Who would have thought that today, 10,000 years later, the two sects would have reached this point? Sima Yao can also be regarded as a senior figure in the Dan Wang Pagoda. But for these Qingshandan matters, it was completely planned by this innocent person in front of him. He even notified this elder after he had already sent the elixir. We used to be the sect loved by the people, but now, look, the people only care about the Yaoyan sect. Is it because our sect is not strong enough? I think it's not because of these, but because of some people. Shut up. The old man sitting on it heard what Sima Yao said, and immediately scolded loudly. Now is no longer the time to discuss these things. Yao Yanzong is currently in the limelight, but as long as our plan is carried out smoothly, it won't take long for Yao Yanzong to completely collapse. When the old man said this, his eyes were full of joy. Seeing this, Sima Yao just shook his head. He has already seen through what the head of the sect has done. When the first head of the Pill Emperor Pagoda was here, Tong Ma Shao worked in the Pill Emperor Pagoda. It can be said that he is the witness of Dan Wang Pagoda for tens of thousands of years. From the first head who was a chivalrous hero and crossed the common people in the world, to the current head. It seems that the upright Pill Emperor Pagoda has disappeared. But Sima Yao didn't know what to do. That being the case, let's discuss it. The old man is gone. Sima Yao waved his hand, turned around and left. If it wasn't for the face of the old suzerain, he would have been tired of this kind of elder meeting. Seeing Sima Yao leave, everyone's expressions didn't change much. The person has already left, and there is no need to beat around the bush. How should we deal with this matter? The old man took a long breath and continued slowly. He is Elder Huang's disciple now. Maybe he will be our disciple in the future, or even us. The pupils of several people shrank slightly, but they quickly returned to calm. What if they want to find fault with this matter? Can any of them tell the difference? Don't say it's them. Even if you give it to any 7th-rank pharmacist, you won't be able to tell it apart. Huang Wuxi was a little angry, but he was extremely confident when he spoke. Yes. All the elixirs sold to Yao Yanzong were purchased and inspected on the spot. They also checked when I went to deliver the elixirs. Even if they want to go back on their word, so what? At that time, there is a problem with the pill, and the disciples of Yao Yanzong will become snake monsters, and this can only be blamed for their inability to restrain themselves. If they want to investigate the poison of the sun's erosion, I'm afraid they won't be able to start. Besides, we have already obtained the Lingshan. They want to go back on their word. It is absolutely impossible to return the Lingshan. Could it be that they want to destroy the original agreement? In this way, they will become the party at a loss. In the future, let alone pills, they will not even think about buying other things. This was originally a meeting of the elders, Lin Shao, as the elder's confidant, and the hero, who sent the pill to Yao Yanzong last time also followed. While speaking, Lin Shao's eyebrows revealed confidence. Idiot. A voice floated slowly, but the spiritual power contained in it hit Lin Shao precisely. Lin Shao was hit by the sudden spirit energy, and he took several steps back and staggered. The person who spoke was Huang Wuxi, and at this moment he was looking at Lin Shao with murderous intent. Elder Huang. What does this mean? Standing behind Lin Shao was the elder and the head of the sect. How could he have been beaten before? After being beaten like this suddenly, his heart was already burning with anger. Although Huang Wuxi is an elder, Lin Xiao still asked unceremoniously. They really have nothing to do with us, but what can you do with Tinlei now? Even if they haven't found out yet, they all directly believe that this is what Yao Yanzong did. Lin Xiao faltered for a long time, although there was a burst of anger in his heart, he could only swallow the words back. Alright. Don't quarrel, you are here to find a solution to the problem, not to quarrel. The old man sitting in the middle spoke again, and the noise just now subsided slowly. In the entire hall, no one spoke, and it was surprisingly quiet. If this is indeed a man-made disaster, we can't find any evidence. And this Tianlei has been aiming at the disciples who participated in this incident. If you continue to let it develop, I'm afraid. As a big sect, the Pill Emperor Pagoda naturally has some foundations, but every day a disciple is scorched by thunder, no matter how strong the foundation is, it won't last long. The person who had just spoken suddenly changed the subject and looked at the old man sitting in the middle. At this time, we may appear in their eyes as thieves shouting and arresting thieves. But if the head of the sect comes forward in person, maybe we can find out something. Speaking of this, he naturally understood, thought carefully for a while, and finally nodded. Su Han heard about these recent events, so he naturally knew what was going on. But he was still a little surprised, because Su Han didn't expect Lin Yi to use such a rough method. But this is indeed a coup, and Yan can't find anything to do with the matter of the pill. The Thunder Pill Emperor Pagoda also couldn't find any clues this day. It's just that Su Han is looking forward to a higher strength. The head of Yaoyan sect is now at the peak of human sovereign, so he can use his own power to create thunder and kill it from a long distance. Both the power and the means are extremely terrifying. What kind of scenery will it be if you reach the Earth Supreme or the better Heaven Supreme? But Su Han also knew that Pill Emperor Pagoda was not a fool, and it was absolutely impossible to just swallow his anger like this. It won't be long before the Pill Emperor Pagoda will move, but he doesn't know the specifics yet. But as the saying goes, when soldiers come to block the water and cover them with soil, Su Han doesn't care about these. After all, a sect that improves its strength by refining and taking drugs cannot threaten him for the time being. Daily Su Han still finds some disciples with better talents to invest. In his spare time, he was refining some elixirs. With the existence of wind in Su Han's Dantian world, the growth state of those spiritual materials is getting better and better. He didn't need to buy spiritual materials anymore to refine some ordinary pills. Therefore, the speed of refining pills has also become much faster. On this day, just as Su Han went out, he saw 5th Elder Qin Yiwang approaching the gate of Su Han's cave. Just looking at it makes people feel that there is some bad news. But Su Han didn't care, and just walked forward slowly. Elder Su, there are some things that need your voice. Su Han probably guessed what was going on, but he still pretended not to know anything and asked. What is it? The Pill Emperor Pagoda has sent someone. They say they're here to celebrate Yao Yanzong having its first pharmacist. Hearing this reason, Su Mei stayed where she was. Even a fool can tell that the person coming is not kind, right? But Su Han didn't care too much. I'm afraid his reputation had already spread far when he first joined Yaoyan sect. Su Han didn't care about these, and continued to ask. Just to celebrate. Nothing else. The Pill Emperor Pagoda finally found an excuse. How could it be possible to simply come and take a look? The Dan Wang Pagoda said that an alchemy conference will be held. Qin Yiwang's face was covered with black lines, and Su Han could tell that he was doing his best to evade this matter. Okay, it's just a matter of time to try your hand. Su Han agreed directly. One is that Su Han has been in Wangtian City and Yao Yanzong since he came to Tianquan Domain. Although he has heard the name of Dan Wang Pagoda so many times, he has never seen anyone in Dan Wang Pagoda. It would be nice to go out for a walk. The second is that in the recent period of time, the disciples of the outer sect have basically been invested by him all over the place. At least those who often come to the martial arts training ground have invested, and even some disciples with better moral character, Su Han has also invested. It is too slow to continue to stay in the martial arts training ground and only rely on Taiwan Ju to operate on its own to improve its cultivation base. Since the alchemy conference is going to be held, as the only alchemist of Yao Yanzong, not to mention the Pill Emperor Pagoda, the disciples of Yao Yanzong must come to watch it. Maybe at that time, I can find a few talented disciples. Elder Su doesn't need to agree in such a hurry. Although the suzerain of the Pill Emperor Pagoda came in person this time, the head will definitely not agree easily. Since Elder Su has decided to stay here, Yao Yanzong will definitely do its best to protect Elder Su's safety. Hearing this, Su Han's heart warmed up, and he also felt that Tai Yiwang was a pretty good person. Although he is usually careless, he will really attend to things. Su Han also made a decision in his heart: if he needs help with anything, Su Han will naturally help. Su Han didn't hesitate too much, and followed Qin Huang directly to the gate hall. This must be Su Xiaoyu, right? As soon as he arrived in the main hall, he saw an old man in a black and green robe. For some reason, Su Han seemed to feel a trace of killing intent from him. And there is always an indescribable disgust for the one in front of him. Su Han naturally knew that the person in front of him was the head of the Pill Emperor Pagoda that Qin Yiwang had mentioned. Where did you come from, little friend? Seeing that Su Han nodded, the old man asked again. Small barbarian territory. This is not a secret at all, Su Han said truthfully. Hearing this, the eyes of the old man obviously changed a little bit. I don't know whether it is disgust, or mocking contempt. I didn't expect that there could be such a dragon and phoenix in the barbarian small area. The old man laughed, but Qin Yiwang's face was covered with black lines. Who can't hear the implication? It's nothing more than feeling that Elder Su is looked down upon by barbarians from the small area. If you think that the pharmacists of our sect can't get into your eyes, why do you need to hold some kind of alchemy conference? Qin Yiwang stood up without hiding anything. Don't be rude. A gleam of joy flashed across Lin Yan's face at first, but it was fleeting, replaced by a reprimand. If possible, Lin Yi didn't want to pay attention to the person in front of him. Otherwise, he wouldn't work tirelessly every day to make such a big commotion. Therefore, the person who just arrived in front of him was deflated, and his heart was also happy. Of course Qin Yiwang knew what it meant. He just took a step back, found a seat and sat down. As for the person sitting next to him, the dark green robe seemed to make his face green. The purpose of holding the alchemy conference this time is to hone Su Xiaoyu's ability. For this reason, only Yaoyan sect and Dan Wang Pagoda sects participated in this conference. Some sects want to participate, but I haven't given the opportunity yet. The old man stroked his long beard and said confidently. But the people next to him naturally knew what was going on. The reason why only the two sects Yao Yanzong and Dan Wang Pagoda participated is just for training? If it wasn't because Su Han thought that the appearance of the 6th grade pharmacists would affect the Dan Wang Pagoda's income or squeeze the Yaoyan sect, they would have worked hard to do this? As far as is concerned, other sects will pay attention to such a conference? Although everyone is well aware of it, but at this moment, no one has pointed it out. Lin Yan's heart was also full of sorrow and joy. I am happy because Dan Wang Pagoda has taken action, which means that what I have done before has had an effect. But because of this, his heart also became heavy. If this alchemy conference is to be held, it must go to the Dan Wang Pagoda. But if this is the case, Su Han's safety will be threatened. Thinking of this, Lin Yan set his eyes on Su Han. It is a great thing for Yao Yanzong that Su Han voluntarily stays in Yao Yanzong. Yao Yanzong should also try their best to protect Su Han. But now, the reason why Pill Emperor Pagoda came here is really high-sounding, and it is hard for him to refuse as the head. If Su Han expressed his attitude at this time, he would naturally be able to speak up. Elder Su, what do you think? Both Lin Yi and Qin Yiwang looked at Su Han, and their expressions seemed to say, don't agree, say no. Su Han naturally knew what they were thinking, and said directly without any hesitation. Since it's Dan Wang Pagoda's kindness, I will naturally participate. Hearing this, both of them froze for a moment. Even the tower master of Dan Wang Pagoda who was sitting next to him was a little surprised. Lin Yan and Qin Yiwang wanted to say something else, but the person sitting next to them suddenly spoke. Since Su Xiaoyu has agreed, the head of Lin should also agree to this matter, right? Since that's the case, this matter is settled like this. The time for the meeting is set in 3 days, and the old man will personally host it. I hope you will arrive on time. It's all about this, even if the two of them are extremely unwilling. But Su Han has already agreed, so they naturally can't say anything more. By the way, Su Xiaoyu is strong enough to win the first place, and the reward will naturally not disappoint you. Oh? Can the tower master reveal a thing or two? Su Han also replied jokingly. Since my little friend is interested, the old man will not hide it anymore. The prize of this conference is the treasure of the Pill Emperor Pagoda town. The pill formula of the 20-rank pill Qingshan pill. If Su Xiaoyu wants to join, the gate of Pill Emperor Pagoda will always be open for you. When the old man left, he said a few more words to Su Han. The old man turned and left, and when he turned his head, he saw Qin Kongwang with black lines all over his face. Although Lin Yi, the head next to him, didn't have much expression on his face, he didn't seem to be in a good mood either. Elder Su, you are confused. How could you agree so easily? If you just expressed your attitude that you don't want to participate in such a thing, the head and I will refuse even if we tear ourselves apart. Qin Yiwang hated iron for being weak, and complained to Su Han, but it was just complaining. It's okay. Su Han didn't pay too much attention to these things, but just replied leisurely. Qin Yiwang wanted to say something, but was interrupted by Lin Yi. Since Elder Su has said so, he naturally has his considerations. We'll just wait and wait for the good news. When Qin Yiwang heard this, his mood did not calm down in any way, on the contrary, he became a little more excited. It doesn't matter if Elder Su just came. Why are you the head of the sect? Although it is said that the reward of this conference is the alchemy formula of Qingshan pill, it is obvious that the Pill Emperor Pagoda thinks that it is impossible for Elder Su to win the leader. Our Yaoyan sect is looked down upon, but you are still so happy as the sect leader? Qin Yiwang was also impatient, and he couldn't care less about the identity of the person in front of him when he heard these words, so he said it directly. Elder Qin's words mean that he is not optimistic about Elder Su's strength? After being said so, Qin Yiwang was speechless immediately. Of course he hopes that Elder Su can win the leader, so that not only can he slap Dan Wang Pagoda in the face in public. The most important thing is to prove to the outside world that the Fu Yanzong can be self-sufficient even without the pills provided by the Pill Emperor Pagoda. As for the formula of Qingshan pill, it seems that Elder Su, the only pharmacist of Yao Yanzong, doesn't need it. You must know that Elder Su was able to refine the 8th grade Qingshan pill before. Can such an existence not know the formula of Qingshan pill? Since that's the case, why do you need to say more? Everything will depend on Elder Su's performance at that time. A smile appeared on Lin Yan's face, but he turned to look at Su Han again. Elder Su, at that time, the 5th elder and I will go with you. You just need to make alchemy well, and we will do the rest. Although the tone of Lin Yi's words was extremely flat, Su Han also knew the weight of it. It's just a meeting to learn about alchemy skills, and if the headmaster goes directly, this kind of treatment may only be enjoyed by Su Han. In the next few days, the news that Su Han was going to compete with the alchemist of the Pill Emperor Pagoda had spread throughout the Yaoyan sect. Everyone was sweating for Elder Su, but they all hoped that Elder Su could win this competition. And although the disciples in the outer sect's training ground were excited, it was because they absolutely trusted Elder Su. I also believe that Elder Su will definitely win. Their current strength is too weak, and they don't know much about alchemy, so they really can't help. Therefore, there is only one they can do: practice hard. Strive to bloom your own brilliance in the inner sect competition. Win glory for Elder Su. Compared with the hard training of the outer disciples, the inner disciples have a completely different view on this time. Only because this kind of alchemy conference has been held before, it doesn't matter whether you win or lose. The most important thing is that no matter what the result is, the Pill Emperor Pagoda will give some pills to the disciples who go to watch the battle. These elixirs are not only Qingshan elixirs, but also some practical elixirs that can be used to improve cultivation are often used. If you get a pill, maybe you can make a breakthrough in your cultivation. Although the relationship between the two sects is not very good now, it is not appropriate to do such a thing. But there must be someone going to watch the battle. Why can't this person be me? It's just that the number of such spectators is very limited, only 20. Although it is said that all the places are in the inner sect, there are thousands of disciples in the inner sect, and it is very difficult to win just 20 places. So generally speaking, only the top 20 in strength can get this opportunity. But there are exceptions. If some of the top 20 disciples are retreating or have no interest in such things, I don't plan to go. The extra places will be handed over to all disciples for fair competition. Usually, some disciples suddenly realized the way of refining medicine because they watched the battle once, and their lives were directly rewritten from then on. They became a pharmacist. People like this will generally be accepted by the Pill Emperor Pagoda. With talent and the resources of the Pill Emperor Pagoda, the future can be said to be bright. It's just that the highest alchemist who participated in some alchemy conferences in the past is only the 5th rank alchemist. Perhaps watching a game is of great significance to ordinary people, but to some disciples who are in the top 20 of the inner sect, it may not be a big deal. Therefore, generally speaking, the top 20 disciples will not watch the battle. At most, only those who have reached the bottleneck in their cultivation. Those who intend to go outside to relax will have the leisurely time to watch the battle. Because of this, every alchemist conference, inner disciples will compete for this opportunity. At this moment, in the inner martial arts training field, this opportunity is very precious. This is the first 6th grade pharmacist of Yaoyan sect, and he has been in Yaoyan sect for 8 years. I'm afraid this is the beginning of changing Yao Yanzong. Everyone was a little excited. Sima Zhaoji's heart was naturally well known to everyone in the conference held by Dan Wang Pagoda. Although it sounded so nice, in fact, It was just that the people from Dan Wang Pagoda wanted to show off and suppress Yao Yanzong. But they also heard that Elder Su is already a 6th rank pharmacist, and the pharmacist sent by Pill Emperor Pagoda this time may reach 7th rank. In this way, I am afraid that it will be very difficult for Elder Su to win. But as members of the Yaoyan sect, they naturally hope that Elder Su can win this competition. It would be great if I could go and see this competition. At this moment, a disciple said something in frustration. With his current strength, he is really not ranked among the entire inner sect. If he wants to go to watch the battle, it is basically a daydream. Let's not think about it, because this time Elder Su has reached the 6th grade alchemist, the quality of the alchemy is much higher. Only 2 of the top 20 in the inner sect that we know now will not go to watch the battle. What? Hearing this news, he seemed to have received a blow to the head, and his mood dropped a little. Usually, he couldn't grab more than 10 places, let alone only 2 now? I'm going to take this opportunity. A woman next to her opened her eyes from her practice and said slowly. You? Don't be kidding me. The people around all looked towards the source of the voice, and after seeing the speaker clearly, everyone cast suspicious eyes. This person is Liang Yeshu, but at this moment, her aura has completely changed. An astonishing coercion emanated from Liang Yexu's body, and everyone stretched out their consciousness to check. Only then did they realize that the aura emanating from Liang Yeshu, who was at the peak of the Purple Mansion a month ago, was far from that of the Purple Mansion, but... Shattering Void Realm. Are you eligible now? Liang Yexu's voice was not loud, but her tone was unusually cold, which said that the spiritual power contained in it spread rapidly. After this wave of spiritual power spread to all the disciples, they suddenly discovered it. Now Liang Yeshu is not only in the Shattering Void Realm but also in the Shattering Void High Realm. At this moment, they were all taken aback. One must know that before January, he was still worried about the future inter-sect competition, but now. Not to mention the inter-sect grand competition, it is not impossible to get 100 in front of the sect. What happened to the person in front of me this month? They didn't dare to think about it at all, they only knew that the current Zhao Yeshu was no longer the person who everyone could say a few words. Dang, of course I am qualified. After the person who took the lead just now felt this terrifying aura, he said somewhat falteringly. Liang Yeshu also ignored the people in front of her, but walked towards the door. Now that she can have this level of cultivation, of course she knows why. Since Elder Su gave some pointers last time, not only did she directly break through the bottleneck, but her cultivation level improved by leaps and bounds. The most important thing is that since then, Yeshu has become more familiar with the grasp of spiritual power. The feeling that many memories will come to my mind as soon as I practice as before is gone. Originally, she wanted to break through the broken realm before leaving the level, but when she heard about the alchemy conference held in the Pill Emperor Pagoda, she couldn't care less. Anyone from the Yaoyan sect knows what Dan Wang Pagoda thinks, and Yeshu is no exception. In her opinion, Elder Su is an extremely prudent person. As long as it is the next step, naturally there will be nothing wrong. But if the people in the Dan Wang Pagoda don't talk about Wood and do some sneaky things, then Mr. Su Chong may be in crisis. Thinking of this, Liu Yeshu couldn't calm down anymore. If something went wrong in Elder Su's competition this time, then what's the point of her practicing so hard? Liang Yeshu came to the door of a main hall and stopped. The inner sect of Yao Yanzong is not like the outer sect, all the disciples are practicing together in a training ground. In the inner sect, as long as the strength reaches a certain height, they can apply to the elders for a special training place. In such a place, there are usually only 100 people practicing in a hall. If the strength is stronger, you can directly apply for a martial arts training ground with 12 people. Young Master Chu, Liang Yeshu from the inner sect is here to pay a special visit. As the sound mixed with spiritual power slowly spread into the hall, after a few breaths, the door of the hall slowly opened. A young man dressed in white and looking quite fairy-like came out slowly. What do you want me to do, little friend? Seeing the person in front of him, Chu Tianrui spoke slowly, even with a hint of a smile. Young Master Chu, I want to ask you for a spot to watch the medicine refining conference. Liang Yeshu said straight to the point. I have never met the girl before, why should I promise you? There was a hint of amusement in Chu Tianrui's eyes, but there was still a smile on his face. Chu Tianrui was ranked 20th among the sects, and he clearly expressed his refusal to attend the match this time. In order to get the qualification to watch the battle, besides standing out from all the inner disciples, there is another way. That is to go directly to discuss with the top 20 disciples who can't go. Although such an approach may cause some disciples who lost their chance to target him. But now Liang Yeshu can't help it. Although she has reached the peak of shattering the void now, the strongest among the inner disciples, has reached the terrifying 5th level of Broken Realm. It is said that he is only one step away from Kagaki. Although Chu Tianrui in front of him is ranked among the bottom 20, his strength has also reached the broken level. Although there is only a small difference between the peak of the void and the first level of shattering, there is still such a big gap in strength between the two. But Liang Yeshui said slowly without any hesitation. I want to compete with Mr. Chu. If I win, please give this opportunity to the little girl. When Chu Tianrui heard this, he immediately became interested. How about this? Your cultivation base is still broken. I will not bully you, as long as your attack has caused me harm, then I will give you this opportunity. Chu Tianrui happened to be out of seclusion recently, and he didn't have a special understanding of the sect's affairs. Now that a disciple suddenly came to challenge him, he naturally became interested. Thank you. Without any hesitation, Liang Yeshui drew out her long sword. Liang Yexu's attack was very fierce. Even Chu Tianrui, who was more cultivated than her, didn't take any advantage in her hands. Instead she took a few steps back one after another. I didn't expect you to be so powerful. I really underestimated the enemy before. Chu Tianrui's gaze gradually changed, and he became serious. Liang Yeshui didn't care. Instead, she sped up her attack speed. After some fighting, the difference in strength was there, and Liang Yeshui no longer had the advantage. At this time, she had no choice but to concentrate her spiritual power on the long sword, ready to make a final fight. With the change of her spiritual power, the air around Liang Yeshui seemed to have undergone a slight change in an instant. Chu Tianrui also realized something was wrong, and used all his spiritual power to defend. It even covered a thick layer of spiritual power directly on the body. In a blink of an eye, a strong wind blew outside the hall, and the wind at this time was like a sharp arrow, rushing towards Chu Tianrui with a howl. The spiritual power contained in it was so violent that even Chu Tianrui was shocked. You won. You won. This chance is for you. Chu Tianrui is not a fool, although losing this competition is a bit embarrassing, but he can still tell which is more important, face or life. Moreover, everyone is an inner sect disciple. Even if they lose, it is not a shame. Maybe the person in front of him is a genius who has just been cultivated by a big family. Chu Tianrui thought that everything was over, but the howling wind outside did not stop because of this, and Dai Yeshui, who was controlling all of this, didn't seem to hear what he said. Chu Tianrui immediately realized the seriousness of the matter. This is probably not a simple cultivation method. Come out faster. Following Chu Tianrui's words, two people immediately walked out of the hall. After feeling the violent aura from Liang Yeshui, the two locked their spiritual power on the woman in front of them without any hesitation. After a long time, the gust of wind subsided slowly, and the robes on the bodies of the three showed signs of being torn. But Liang Yeshui fell to the ground and passed out. I'm afraid he has some great talent, Chu Tianrui complained, remembering what he had just experienced. You must know that the ones who practiced with him were the sect's recognized number 1 Chu Yuhua and the recognized second son Gao Min. One of the two has reached the terrifying 5th level of Broken Realm and even approached the 6th level of Broken Realm. The other has just stepped into the 5th level of Broken Realm. It can be said that as long as there are these two people, any disciple in the entire sect can instantly kill them at will. But just now the three of them teamed up to crack a technique that was only the realm of breaking the void, but they almost overturned. For a while, they didn't know whether they hadn't practiced hard enough recently or the woman in front of them was too heaven-defying. Under the strong wind, the rain was quickly drawn out, and the three of them saw Liang Yeshui, who was unconscious over there and had no choice but to help her into the hall. After several hours, the spiritual power of the three finally recovered almost, and at this time, Liang Yezong also slowly woke up. Wake up! Wake up! After Chu Tianrui had almost recovered, he had been staring at Liang Yexu's situation. Seeing her wake up now, she said excitedly, How do you feel? Chu Yuhua slowly opened his eyes and said flatly. This is... Liang Yeshui looked at the three people in front of her. Although she knew all three of them, she was still a little confused. She still remembered that she seemed to be fighting Chu Tianrui just now, but she had no memory of what happened afterwards. Huh. You forgot. You just beat us so badly. Are you finished now? When Chu Tianrui heard what Liang Yeshui said, he put his hands on his hips and said angrily. Okay. Scare people away. Seeing that Chu Tianrui had resumed his usual speaking style, Chu Yuhua hurriedly reminded him. You boy. Where did you provoke such a little pepper? Gong Gaoman looked at Chu Tianrui with a smile, and there seemed to be a hint of other meaning in his eyes. Ah hey. This really can't be blamed on me. Don't you all know what happened recently? I have been cultivating with you in this broken place. I really don't know what you guys think, Can't you just go out and go for a walk? Chu Tianrui didn't seem to care about Liang Yeshui next to him at all, and talked to himself. Stop teasing him, too. Seeing this, Chu Yuhua could only say slowly. Young Master Chu, what about the matter we discussed just now? Liang Yeshui didn't pay attention to what they said, but locked her eyes on Chu Tianrui. Although I don't know what happened, but I saw the traces on their clothes, plus what Chu Tianrui said just now. Liang Yeshui also had a glimmer of hope in her heart. If she did it by mistake just now, wouldn't she be qualified to watch the battle? Actually, this quota is not particularly important to us. We plan to go out to practice during this time. As long as you answer a few questions for us. Mr. Chu, please ask. Hearing that there is hope at this time, Liang Yeshui immediately felt hopeful. Have I seen you somewhere, or heard your name? Thinking of Liang Yixu's name, Chu Tianrui always felt a little familiar, but he couldn't remember where he had heard this name. I was directly brought to the inner sect by the fifth elder. Perhaps Mr. Chu heard about my title as a relational householder. Liang Yeshui is actually not interested in the title of relationship household anymore, and now her cultivation has reached the peak of breaking the void. In the past, maybe she was afraid that this title would bring trouble to the fifth elder, but now, Liang Yeshui just admitted it boldly. One is to prove to others that she is not a so-called relationship household, and the other is to let others know that the sunshine of the fifth elder is right. What? Hearing this news, not only Chu Tianrui, but even Chu Yuhua exclaimed. They naturally knew about the disciples that the fifth elder brought back and made an exception to stay in the inner sect. It's just that a few months ago, they all heard that this son was worrying about the inner sect competition, and was even called the only disciple who might be sent back to the outer sect by the disciples. But now it seems that the strength of the pinnacle of Pox Yu in front of her is not fake. What's more, she almost defeated the three of them by herself just now. With such strength, do you call this a relationship household, as this called the only disciple who may be sent back to the outer sect? The three of them were stunned, but Liang Yeshui started to explain after seeing this. Indeed, as you can see, my cultivation was only mentioned in the last month. And all of this is thanks to Elder Su, So I have to get the quota to watch the battle no matter what, so as to protect Elder Su. While speaking, Yi Shui's eyes also became a little firmer. Elder Su? The one who will participate in the alchemy conference this time? Chu Tianrui said directly without thinking. Liang Yeshui nodded and spoke again. Please give me this quota, Mr. Chu. Chu Tianrui pondered for a while, then smiled. Since this Elder Su is so miraculous, then I can't give you my quota. Liang Yeshui froze for a moment, with mixed feelings in her heart. But without thinking too much, she just turned and left. Where are you going? Seeing that Liang Yeshui turned around and was about to leave, Chu Tianrui hurriedly called out. Find someone else to get the spot. Liang Yeshui replied indifferently, and continued to walk outside. She had expected this a long time ago. After all, the number of places is very small. It's just that there is not much time left for her at the moment of the conference, and she must find a spot as soon as possible. Ah, hello. Wait. Why are you walking so fast? I'm not finished yet. But Liang Yeshui didn't stop because of this. Since Chu Tianrui didn't want to give up the quota, then it doesn't make sense for her to stay here. Seeing this, Chu Tianrui had no choice but to walk forward quickly and stop Liang Yeshui. Why are you walking so fast? Oh, I haven't finished yet. Elder Su is so amazing, I want to see it too, so I can't give you my quota. But I can help you get a spot. Hearing this, there seemed to be a gleam of light in Liang Yixu's eyes, and her face was full of anticipation. Real? Chu Tianrui patted his chest and said slowly. Don't admire me too much, I would be proud. Liang Yeshui didn't pay attention to it, and just muttered in a low voice, it's great, I can finally protect Elder Su. After returning to the main hall, Chu Tianrui left directly. Girl, don't mind, Tianrui has been like this since he was a child. Seeing Liang Yeshui come back, Chu Yuhua explained with a smile. Maybe it's because you always force people to practice, and you're overwhelmed. Gong Gaoman said jokingly. It's okay, I still want to thank Mr. Chu for his help. Liang Yeshui saw that there was no big problem with the number of spectators, and she relaxed a lot, so she replied with a smile. Silence because there were guests, the two of them did not continue to practice, and the entire hall was surprisingly quiet. After a while, Gong Gaoman asked, Girl, has your realm really improved to such a level in just a few months? When he heard the news at the beginning, he was very shocked, but now he finally had a chance to ask, so he asked tentatively. You must know that it is impossible to raise two great realms in 1 month. With this talent, how could it be what they call a relationship household? It is obviously heaven's pride. In fact, apart from being shocked, Gong Gaoman is more envious. If she can maintain this speed of improvement, she may be able to break through to the divine realm in a short time. At that time, let alone an inner sect disciple, it is possible to become an elder if you want to. Seeing that nothing happened now, Liang Yeshui described what happened before. When talking about Elder Su, the two listened to praise all the time, but only Liang Yeshui knew that she didn't show any tension. It was very difficult for her to cultivate even in the past, but she was able to cultivate supernatural speed by Elder Su's side. And all of this is undoubtedly the credit of Elder Su. Having said that, Yi Shui slowly lowered her head again. What's wrong? Although the two were not good at words, their observation skills were very keen, and they soon noticed something strange, so they hurriedly asked. There is one more thing I would like to entrust to the two senior brothers. The expressions of the two became serious in an instant. Even if it was just because of her extraordinary cultivation talent, it was enough for them to make this friend. Girl, but it's okay to say. I want the two senior brothers to help protect Su Chongni. When the two heard this, they laughed. The two of us thought it was something, but it turned out to be just this. Elder Su is the special elder of my Yaoyan sect, and this is also representing the entire sect to participate in the alchemy conference. Because of emotion and reason, we should all protect Elder Su. For such a meeting, they must not dare to do anything in Dan Wang Pagoda. But if they really plan to do something to Elder Su, then we are not vegetarians. Although Chu Yehua looks like a handsome young man, he speaks very hard. Thank you two senior brothers. After hearing what the two said, Liang Yeshui let go of the big rock hanging in her heart. Elder Su's strength itself is in the Shattering Void realm, with her at the Shattering Void peak, plus a couple of Shattering Realm powerhouses guarding her. No matter how arrogant the people in Pill Emperor Pagoda are, they will have to weigh it up. Miss Liang, it's done. I talked to Wronger, she just didn't plan to watch the game, so the spot was released. Brother, we have to go see Elder Su, right? It's a pity not to see such a powerful person. Chu Tianrui walked in quite happily, his mouth still so broken. Soon, the alchemy conference came. Fifth Elder Qin Yiwang woke up early and gathered all the disciples who participated in this battle. Remember, everything must be obeyed, don't understand. If something happens, it will be difficult even for the old man. Qin Yiwang spoke earnestly, but the disciples in the audience didn't seem to be in the mood to listen to this. Fifth Elder, don't worry, this time we are just going out for fun, and we won't cause trouble for you. Chu Tianrui said with a smile. Everyone seemed to be accustomed to his thoughts, and they all nodded in agreement. When will Elder Su come out? Suddenly, in the crowd, someone asked a question, and only then did the person react. Today is a meeting exclusively for Elder Su, and he hasn't come out yet. What is this? Hearing this, Liang Yuxu's face darkened instantly. Since you know that this is Elder Su's exclusive conference, and Elder Su is not in a hurry, why are you in a hurry here? Without any hesitation, Liang Yeshui went straight over. You. Just by you dare to shout here? The person who spoke was Wang Shu, who was ranked 10th in Yaoyanzong's disciple ranking list, and his strength had already reached the second level of broken. This time, only 2 of the top 20 disciples did not want to participate. Later, Chu Tianrui decided to take a look temporarily, and the only spot fell on Liang Yeshui. Therefore, apart from Liang Yeshui, the other 19 disciples are all in the top 20. In this place where strength is the most important thing, Wang Yu naturally did not put Liang Yeshui in his eyes, and his tone of speech was full of disdain. I think what Miss Liang said makes sense. Since Elder Su hasn't come yet, let's just wait a while. Chu Yehua opened his mouth slowly, his tone was still extremely flat and calm. That's right. Elder Su is a 6th grade pharmacist. What will happen if we wait here? Chu Tianrui also added. Seeing that Chu Yehua had opened his mouth, Wang Shu could only swallow back the words he wanted to say just now. This time, Elder Su went for our Yaoyan sect, and Elder Su's level of alchemy is so high and he is willing to stay in our Yaoyan sect, we really shouldn't say anything. Just wait here. Seeing his disciples quarreling over this trivial matter, Qin Yiwang had no choice but to act as a peacemaker. Soon a man in a white robe slowly walked in, and this person was Su Han. Everyone is ready, let's go, Su Hanyan said lightly. Su Han has reached the current state, and his 5 senses have already reached a terrifying level. Even though he was only outside just now, Su Han could hear clearly what happened inside. As for these people around here, although Su Han didn't know anyone except Liang Yeshui, their information was fully exposed under the eyes of the sky. Qin Yiwang also agreed, and brought all the disciples outside the sect. With a wave of his big hand, A cloud ship appeared in front of Qin Yiwang. Su Han didn't have much feeling for such a means of transportation. After all, with his mastery of the laws of space, it only takes a short while to go from Yao Yanzong to Pill Emperor Pagoda. However, Su Han didn't pay too much attention to these, he just found a place on the cloud ship and sat down. But as soon as he sat down, Su Han felt as if a pair of eyes were staring at him. But after he saw who was coming, he didn't pay any attention to it. Apart from Su Han on this cloud ship, the only one with the strongest strength is Qin Yiwang, who is in the immortal ascension boundary, so naturally there will be no danger. After Su Han sat down, he directly entered the world of Dantian. In fact, Su Han didn't know much about his alchemy skills. So far, the highest level elixir he has refined is the 8th grade Qingshan elixir. However, at that time, he did not encounter any difficulties when refining this elixir. Su Han knew that the 8th grade elixir was not his limit. The reason why he didn't refine higher grade pills during this period of time was entirely because of trouble. You must know that it was just an accidental refinement of an 8th grade elixir before, and the entire Yaoyan sect discussed it for a while, which is not appropriate. If a higher grade elixir was refined, the people in Pill Emperor Pagoda would probably not invite him to compete as calmly as they are now. Su Han didn't want to let too many people know about his full strength. But no matter what kind of elixir is refined, the basic spiritual materials are naturally indispensable. As for the spiritual materials provided in the Pill Emperor Pagoda, Su Han didn't count on it either. Moreover, there are too many spiritual materials in the Dantian world now, so there is no need to use the Dan Wang Pagoda. After Su Han prepared some basic spiritual materials in liquid, he suddenly heard a sound. Elder Su. Su Han slowly opened his eyes, and when he saw the person coming, he was not surprised but nodded slightly. I heard Miss Leang say that you were amazing, so I came here to see Elder Su. That's right, Elder Su, how did you do it? I think alchemy is fun, but every time it blows up, I don't know why. Hearing Chu Tianrui's broken thoughts, Su Han didn't feel any discomfort, on the contrary, he became interested in the information checked by Tianyan. Name: Chu Tianrui, luck level, remnant image method. Age: 599 years old, strength, broken heavy. Life evaluation. Wuyi immortal monarch divine artifact Linlang flower rain picture. After the ancient war, it was broken and returned to the dust. A piece of broken pages escaped into the world, turned into a wisp of spiritual energy, and the reincarnation of the 10th life will eventually become an adult. After the broken body is repaired, it can be cultivated. Class: recent encounter. Remnant Map's perception ability has not yet been determined, and his cultivation has fallen into confusion. Name: Chu Yahua, luck level, Pagoda Dharma. Age: 641 years old, strength, broken 5 layers. Life evaluation. Born with the ancient artifact Linlanghua Yutu, the survivors in the ancient war went through 10 reincarnations to find Linlanghua Yutu, and guarded it comprehensively. The two came to Su Han's side together with Liang Yeshui, and he couldn't help being surprised. You must know that Liang Yeshui is also a talent for Dharma. 3 of the 3 people are talented in Dharma. However, Liang Yeshui and Su Han had already invested, and his focus was more on the other 2 people. It is hard enough to find a disciple who is gifted with Dharma, let alone 3 talents with Dharma gathered together. However, after seeing the lives of the 2 people, Su Han has a little more understanding of the world's avenues. According to legend, in ancient times, there were many powerful beings. As for the cultivation realm of these powerful people, Su Han is not clear either. But these people, to be precise, may be called gods. Their cultivation base is definitely far higher than that of the Supreme, but he doesn't know what the scenery will be like after the Supreme. And these powerful beings usually carry some magic weapons with them. These magic weapons will form a weapon spirit after being nourished by the spiritual energy for a long time. This is enough to show how powerful these powerful beings are. In addition to serving the master, these tool spirits all have their own consciousness. Perhaps it is not so much a magic weapon as it is a friend of these powerful beings. Human beings have life and death, so do utensils. Once broken, utensils are also irreversible. Under the law of the Tao, the spirit-transforming weapon can also enter reincarnation. But after the reincarnation of the 2 magic weapons, the chances of seeing each other again are extremely slim. Even if they belong to the same person in the previous life, after reincarnation, they will be separated from each other. The bond between the 2 is deep enough to reach a height enough to surpass the law. However, Su Han didn't think too much about it, because the capable person was still far away from him. It's just a coincidence. Su Han replied casually and asked rhetorically. How did you come here? Recently is the time when you are most likely to be broken. In fact, after investing in Liang Yeshui, Su Han found out. Although on the surface Liang Yeshui has been stuck at the peak of Zifu, in fact, she is practicing every day. It's just that there is always a shackle in her heart, which makes it difficult to break through, and these spiritual powers accumulate in her body. As long as she breaks through the difficulties, the spiritual energy stored in her body will be completely released, helping to improve her realm. He made a rough estimate, and it is not a problem for the stored spiritual energy to help reach the state of fragmentation. Because of this, Yin Yi was not surprised to see that Liang Yeshui had raised 2 major realms in a month. Recently, I have encountered a bottleneck in my practice, so I want to come out for a walk. I just heard that Elder Su is going to participate in the alchemy conference, so I want to come and see it. Liang Yeshui didn't tell the real reason why she came here, she just found a random reason to ambiguously go to the doctor. Chu Tianrui and Chu Yuhuan naturally knew why, but seeing what Liang Yeshui said, they also found a reason and casually blurted it out. Elder Su, I heard from Miss Liang that after your guidance, I have raised 2 realms in 1 month. Can you teach me? Chu Tianrui finally met the rumored Elder Su, and finally spoke out after holding back for several days. It's also luck. Su Han just replied casually. Although the 3 of them are all talented in Dharma, how can they compare to things like cultivation? The reason why she was able to break through 2 major realms in 1 month was largely because she was stuck in the Purple Mansion for nearly 100 years. And Chu Tianrui in front of him is broken at the moment. If he can break through one after another for a month, how can ordinary Shushi survive? After seeing Chu Tianrui's recent experience, Su Han also knew that wanting to invest is not that simple. And Chu Yuhua didn't even show the recent encounters in the system. But Su Han is not in a hurry. As long as he is a disciple of Yao Yanzong, he is not afraid that he will not be able to see him in the future. Moreover, Su Han is also familiar with the matter of investment. After the relationship between the 2 people is a little better, it is easier to improve the mood of the other party, and the investment is naturally easier to succeed. A few people chatted about some things about cultivation later, and Yin Han also answered them briefly. Unknowingly, the cloud ship flew over the Dan Wang Pagoda. All the people stood in front of the Dan Wang Pagoda. Qin Yiwang waved his hand, and the huge cloud ship disappeared without a trace in an instant. Everyone is here. The person who came out to greet him was Lin Shao, but the people of Yao Yanzong didn't seem to have a good impression of him. Even if he stepped forward to greet him, no one paid attention. However, everyone still entered the Dan Wang Pagoda under his guidance. Pill Emperor Pagoda has a total of 7 floors, just like Yao Yanzong. After entering the pagoda, one can feel that there is something special in it. Su Han could tell that it was exactly the same as Yao Yanzong's practice. It didn't look very big on the outside, but it was much bigger than imagined after entering the inside. This is undoubtedly the method of space expansion, and it even contains a trace of space law. It's just that there are very few space laws. If you don't investigate carefully, it may be difficult to find. Seeing the Pill Emperor Pagoda, the alchemy meeting was not held immediately. Lin Shao took everyone to their respective rooms. Su Han also guessed anxiously, and has no opinion on it. After all, it is not so easy to hold an alchemy conference. This is not like refining pills by one person. As long as there is an alchemy furnace and the required spiritual material and liquid, it can be refined anywhere. To hold a competition, whether it is the selection of the alchemy furnace or the selection of spiritual materials, a lot of effort is required. Only when everything is prepared can it go smoothly. Although this is just a small competition between the 2 sects of Yaoyan sect and Pill Emperor Pagoda, but the more it is like this, Pill Emperor Pagoda will be more careful. After all, if one is not careful, mistakes may occur in their sect refining medicine for generations, and their face will be lost. Although, everyone can see that this time in the refining conference, it is Dan Huang Pagoda who wants to embarrass Yao Yanzong. But if Pill Emperor Pagoda didn't do these small things well, with the ability of Yao Yanzong's leader, I'm afraid it will be Pill Emperor Pagoda who will be embarrassed at that time. Su Han has been a human being for 2 generations, and he is no stranger to such things. However, the mentality of those disciples has undergone a slight change. What do you mean? We ran over to watch the battle, and you still left us here. Wang Shu was also impatient, and Lin Shao was upset at first, so he yelled loudly. This is the arrangement of the Tower Master, and it will not help if you call me. But this is indeed like you, no wonder you can only rank 10th. That's how it feels. Lin Shao didn't get angry because of this, instead he said something strangely. After saying this, Lin Shao didn't care about Wang Shu, and turned around and left. Only Wang Shu was left alone, looking at his leaving back with black lines all over his face. Brother, what do you think of Elder Su? Seeing that Lin Xiao had just left, Chu Tianrui leaned over and asked with a smile. Elder Su is a stable person, and he looks even younger than you and me, but he is already a 6th grade pharmacist. Furthermore, Miss Leang also said that Elder Su's cultivation has reached the level of breaking the void. This is really the pride of heaven, Chu Yuhua sighed. Su Han was arranged in a separate room, and wanted to rest for a while, when 2 familiar figures walked in. Elder Su. Where is someone else? The leader Lin Yi and the 5th elder Qin Yiwang will lose. Why did the head and the 5 elders come here? Su Han didn't think it was strange that 2 people came here, but he still pretended not to know anything and asked. After all, if one is wise enough to be stupid, pretending to be confused is not a bad thing. Elder Su, this time the medicine refining conference will be entrusted to you. But it's good to do everything you can, and don't fall into danger because of fighting for the limelight. Although Lin Yan didn't know much about alchemy, but at his current age, he naturally understood some common sense. Although alchemy does not seem to be dangerous, it is very easy to affect the mood if you are not careful. After reaching the supreme state, Lin Yan naturally knows how important the state of mind is. Don't worry, sect leader, I know that well, Su Han answered casually. Although the current Su Han is not very clear about his alchemy level. But some common sense of alchemy has been directly engraved into his mind since he absorbed the investment reward. These things seem to be integrated into his body, as long as they were needed, they could be deployed at any time. Elder Su is naturally the best, but tomorrow's. Qin Yiwang spoke slowly, but stopped suddenly when he said this, as if hesitating. But it's okay to say, Su Han still said flatly. I heard that tomorrow's competition will be alchemy independently. When Qin Yiwang was talking, he still looked at Su Han from time to time. But after seeing that Su Han's face didn't change much after listening to these, he was slightly relieved. In fact, there is no need for Su Han to be nervous or afraid. Generally speaking, there are only 2 forms of alchemy conferences. One is designated alchemy, and the other is independent alchemy. The so-called designated alchemy, as the name suggests, is to present a pill recipe, and all the contestants will refine this kind of pill. Such benefits naturally exist, and that is fairness. Everyone can refine a piece of alchemy, and there is no need for the alchemist to prepare in advance. But the same fairness is also its biggest disadvantage. Everyone refines a kind of elixir. Some people may have already refined it, and some people are not even seeing it for the first time. But independent alchemy does not need to worry about these at all. Self-refining alchemy means that all people can refine alchemy at will, and there are not too many rules and restrictions. After refining, submit the refined pills to the referee for inspection, and those with higher grades and fewer impurities will be ranked higher. This is more free, but it also has disadvantages. If some people have higher grade pills, their advantages must be even greater. Pill Emperor Pagoda's action this time was originally to suppress Yao Yanzong, so it naturally chose to make alchemy independently. After all, compared with other sects, a sect that focuses on refining medicine has a richer foundation of alchemy recipes. But to Su Han, who has already mastered the god-level alchemy, none of this seems to be particularly important. Elder Su, here is the highest level alchemy formula of our Guan Yanchong. Lin Yi took out a scroll and slowly opened it. Obviously, this scroll is very old and its color is a little yellowish, but the words on it are still very clear. This is enough to show how precious this pill recipe is to Yao Yanzong. Su Han looked at it briefly, and found that it was a prescription of an 8th grade elixir, called Chuo Tianyang pill. However, it is also worthy of being Yao Yanzong's pill formula. It has only one function, and the mastery of the fire element skills will be directly improved by 2 levels. Su Han was also slightly surprised when he saw it. Such an elixir can definitely be called a magic elixir. You must know that the cultivation of Kung Fu is equally important as the cultivation of realm. Moreover, the cultivation method is different from the realm of cultivation, and the cultivation method can be changed. At the beginning of the road of cultivating immortals, many people only have some yellow-level exercises. However, with the continuous improvement of the realm of cultivation, the exercises he comes into contact with will naturally change. It's just that if you want to learn a new exercise, you have to learn it from scratch, and only in this way, the chances of reaching the top will be greater in the future. After all, it is not uncommon to rely on only one Huang rank exercise to influence the entire world of cultivating immortals, but there are very few of them. Therefore, to a large extent, the time spent on cultivating skills by immortal cultivators is much less than the time spent on realm breakthroughs. But the practice of both skills and state is equally important. The realm largely determines the lower limit of a monk. If a monk who has reached the supreme realm meets a monk who has just broken into pieces. Even if the monks in the supreme realm do nothing, Their breath is enough to suppress the monks in the broken realm out of breath. This is also why many mortals feel an invisible sense of oppression after seeing the monks. But the skill determines the upper limit of a monk. Why would someone be able to cross realms and leapfrog challenges? A large part of this is the effect of exercises. If one has practiced a good technique, even if there is some difference in realm, it is still possible to turn the tide. Moreover, most of Yao Yanzong's disciples are practicing fire-type exercises, if the Chuo Tianyang pill is mass-produced. I can't even imagine this. But Su Han didn't think too much about it now, he just took Dan Fang down. Although there may be better ones among the pills given by the system, this can be regarded as Yao Yanzong's wish. At this moment, Su Han made a decision in his heart. At the beginning, I promised to attend the alchemy conference of Pill Emperor Pagoda. Originally I just wanted to see if there was anyone suitable for investment. As for the ranking of the alchemy conference, Su Han felt that it didn't matter. But now it seems that it might not be a bad thing to get the first place in this alchemy conference. The latter two gave a lot of advice, but Su Han didn't listen carefully. It was nothing more than putting his own safety first. After the two left, Su Han had no idea of resting, so he walked towards the door. When he first came to the Pill Emperor Pagoda, Lin Shao had already introduced it, except for some important places in the entire Pill Emperor Pagoda, such as the Hall of Elders and the like. In other places, Yao Zong's disciples can wander around at will. And this time it seems that the top 20 disciples of the sect and the head of the sect have come together, and it seems that they will stay in the Dan Wang Pagoda for a long time. Naturally, Su Han had no opinion on these things. For him, whether it was the Yaoyan sect or the Pill Emperor Pagoda, there were very few people who could threaten Su Han. Su Han also did not expect that the Pill Emperor Pagoda would allow Yao Yanzong's top disciples to stay in the Pill Emperor Pagoda. Is this because Dan Wang Pagoda has enough confidence in its own strength or has other plans? However, Su Han didn't think much about it, and just walked out the door slowly. The structure of the Pill Emperor Pagoda and the Yaoyan sect are somewhat different. The Pill Emperor Pagoda does not seem to have an inner door and an outer door. All the people are in the same alchemy room. Although it was the first time to come here, under the inspection of Su Han's powerful spiritual sense, he quickly found the alchemy room. Fortunately, there is no ban on entering the alchemy room, which saves a lot of trouble. Entering the alchemy room, Su Han saw alchemy furnaces placed according to the rules. This is the foundation of Pill Emperor Pagoda? Seeing this scene, Su Han was also a little shocked. Although these alchemy furnaces are not precious treasures, they are not bad in terms of quality. There are at least 400 to 500 alchemy furnaces in such a large-scale alchemy room. If it is replaced by spirit stones, it is conservatively estimated that it will cost several million top-grade spirit stones. It's just that no one knows how many of these alchemy furnaces are serious. Among them, the alchemy disciples were not surprised when they saw Su Han walking in. They just took a look and continued to refine the elixir in their hands. It can only be said that it is worthy of the Tiansha domain, and most of the luck levels of these disciples who are refining alchemy in this alchemy room are also blue. But Su Han is not interested in these things anymore. After all, this is a place to train pharmacists. In this Tiankan domain, the luck levels of ordinary sect disciples are almost all blue, let alone the sect that trains alchemists. Becoming a pharmacist is much more difficult than becoming a monk. After all, not everyone is as quick as Su Han. Su Han continued to walk in, and his spiritual consciousness also quickly explored. Under the detection of divine consciousness, nothing can escape Su Han's eyes. In the alchemy room, there seems to be some compartments composed of spiritual power around each alchemy furnace. Since it is composed of aura, if you just look at it with the naked eye, it is completely transparent. Sure enough, it's a place dedicated to alchemy, Su Han said with emotion in his heart. Su Han naturally knew the function of these compartments composed of aura. In the process of alchemy, frying furnaces often appear. With these compartments, the explosion generated by the frying furnace will be blocked by the compartments to minimize the loss. Boom _. The sound of an explosion quickly entered Su Han's ears, and the other disciples naturally heard the sound as well. The sound came from the corner over there, and Su Han walked slowly to the compartment where the sound came from. But these disciples just glanced at that corner and shook their heads. After a while, all their attention returned to the alchemy furnace in front of them. The sound was undoubtedly the fryer. Although with the protection of the compartment, the explosion will not affect other people's alchemy, but the people in this compartment will suffer more damage. The disciples in this compartment were directly overturned to the ground by this force. After the explosion, the door of the compartment opened slowly, and a burst of smoke slowly drifted out from it. Although the disciple looked a little weak, he still managed to stand up, and slowly cleaned up the mess caused by the explosion. It seemed that he was used to what was happening now. Su Han walked over slowly, and the sky eyes activated instantly. Name: Mu Shorin, luck level, golden, strength, 5th level of the purple mansion. Alchemy level, 4th level alchemist, age, 996 years old. Life evaluation. The disciples of the Pill Emperor Pagoda, all their lives are only for alchemy. There are many hardships before the 1,000 years, and the 1,000 years is the turning point. If you wake up in time, you may have great achievements. Recent encounter. There is a trace of the soul of the ancestors of the Mu family hidden in the ring, and the Mu family's family has fallen, so this matter will no longer be passed on. By chance, the ring was taken back again, but I don't know the secret. Alchemy frying furnaces have been used for hundreds of years. Investment method. Take off the ring of accepting, abandoning the opportunity to become the next way. 2. Find a suitable alchemy furnace for it. The chance of accepting the ring may become a great fortune. Seeing the information in front of him, Su Han thought of some ancient things he saw in ancient books. According to legend, in ancient times, when some powerful families were about to fall, they would seal a wisp of their soul in some special places. Some will be a pagoda, using its majestic spiritual power to help the younger generation practice. Some will be some small objects, which are easy to carry on the body, so that the younger generation can give some guidance in time when they practice. However, no matter what form it is, as long as it can be passed down, it is very powerful without exception. After all, a ray of soul can survive the scouring of tens of thousands of years and still exist in the world, which is enough to show the power of the soul in life. Of course, such a sealing method may also have some disadvantages, such as Shorin in front of him. The family is in decline, the inheritance of the Naji is cut off, and the souls in the Naji look down on the strength of the outside world, and will not help or even make trouble from time to time. But combined with Mu Shorin's life evaluation, Su Han also understood. Mu Shorin is only 4 years away from Chito's, which means that after 4 years, he will have a great opportunity. Su Han walked in slowly, took out an elixir from the dantian and handed it over. Mu Shorin gave a moment, and then he woke up. Are you? Mu Shorin could feel the powerful aura on Su Han's body, but he didn't know the specific state, because his strength was not enough to perceive it. Su Han. He said slowly. Perhaps his name has long been no secret in the Pill Emperor Pagoda, so Su Han naturally didn't mind, and directly said his name. You are. This name is probably very familiar to anyone who is a member of Pill Emperor Pagoda. The junior is sorry. Mu Shorin saluted respectfully, although the people in Dan Wang Pagoda continued to spread some not-so-good things about Su Han. But it's nothing more than some trivial things, and some people even say that Su Han is an extremely ugly monster. Now that Mu Shorin really saw Su Han, he also understood that those rumors before were completely fabricated out of thin air. Perhaps you can go for a walk. Su Han picked up a fragment of the alchemy furnace and spoke slowly. Ah. Mu Shorin was obviously taken aback for a moment. The Pill Emperor Pagoda was the place where he had stayed for hundreds of years. Even though he hadn't practiced a single elixir every day for decades, and almost all his fellow disciples had become 5th-rank pharmacists, he never wavered in the slightest. But now a senior who just met said he wants to leave.